Futures trying to get back to positive territory as we get going into a holiday shortened week. Happy Canada Day for everyone on this side of the border. This morning we'll get the July 4th holiday obviously coming up in a few days. Canada Day today, I was just noting a big pop right now in yields right across the board. The dollar moving higher as well. Japanese yen back to, levels we haven't seen since the early 80s this morning. So currencies under a little bit of watch here to kick off this week, along with some of the interest rates going back to the upside, not helping things. The market trying to get back to positive territory here. We are green on the session here for the NASDAQ, but only just by 0.25%. But you can see we were negative to start things off this morning, back above 480 right now for the Qs. But who cares, because Chewy is what everyone wants to hear about this morning, and GameStop trying to bounce off 30 bucks right now for Chewy. GME under a ton of pressure here, lots of volume as well coming back in just at 8:30 there, another volume spike. Through 23 we go as Keith Gill gets smacked with an SEC. They're allegations at this point, but of manipulation essentially going back to May with some of these social media posts on the latest round of the GME move. For Roaring Kitty, so we'll see what happens with that. Chewy to the upside on this. 6% stake for Mr. Kitty himself.
Making him the third largest shareholder of the company. Brendo did not expect that. 9 million shares he's got, to the tune of about $245 million based on the Friday close of Chewy. Very similar amount to what he had positioned himself into for those GameStop calls. So we'll have to see if that's new money or rolled over money. Tesla reporting or actually being added to the I believe their tactical list ideas list for Wells Fargo. Not a good ad though. We'll get into that. And Meta under some scrutiny over there in the EU.
Yeah, we're expecting deliveries from Tesla coming up here in the next few days or so. Not looking good. A lot of analysts coming out with expectations that for the second quarter or third quarter, I think it is in a row, that Tesla deliveries will be downside once again for Q2. We'll touch on that coming up. I was just double checking here. So Chewy, I see 14.8% short side. GME down to about 11.5. So if you just base it off that alone, you can see what direction this is going. Oh. I double checked with Michael Noss. That's from Trade Ideas. I double checked with Michael Noss on Friday. They update that bi-weekly, which is when typically data is released. There's a lot of sources that try to come up with a number in between the official releases based off of just trading volume in and out on the short or the sell side versus the buy side. So just be aware from Trade Ideas anyways, bi-weekly on the short data. So it's 14.8% from Trade Ideas on Chewy, about 11% for GameStop at this point. So that's where most of the attention is so far this morning. Sean off for the week, enjoying a nice holiday break. Obi in once again this morning here. Good morning, guys.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Happy Canada Day. Got to. That's right. It's a holiday shortened week. Obviously, yes, it's going to be a half day on Wednesday and then a full day for the 4th, Independence Day down south. So everybody enjoy the week. But we got a lot to get to today. Whether it's going to be Chewy, some people are going to be trading GameStop. I feel like the only way I'm trading GameStop is if Chewy ends up a dud, which I don't think is going to be the case. I think there's going to be action there. Tesla's back above 200. That's going to be good. At least I hope it's good. It's doing some decent volume already. We'll get into some of the action that happened at the close as well. Because remember, there were those big imbalances at the close, a couple of really big movers at important prices. So there was SMCI, Apple had a big move as well. We're going to get into all of that to start the week. I'm also super excited to trade a little bit of NVIDIA again. That might have taken out some pretty key support. So there's a heck of a lot that we want to be able to get to this week. And it's all going to start, I think, for a lot of people with Chewy, you always got to trade the action. It's done 7 million pre-market. You've already had one massive pullback in this area when the tweet got made on Thursday. And then today, hopefully we can actually sustain some of that move. Always more fun to go long in a squeeze play than try to play the back end of it. But you've got to be willing to do both. I think if you weren't willing to do both on Thursday, you probably got burned, because that was one heck of a pullback that it did. Obi, I know you're locked and loaded, ready to go. You've got some. It's kind of red.
Yeah,
Looks red on screen.
It's kind of red. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, what's going on, everybody? Happy Canada Day to those of you who are celebrating here in the north. But yeah, no, I was not aware of the Chewy news until this morning when it was mentioned to me, and I was like, okay, all right, let's go for round two. Yeah, with that tweet, I guess on Thursday, he was definitely signaling something. We saw the move kind of retrace the whole thing, and I was like, all right, maybe things are getting spicy again. Maybe we're just milking the move. Who knows? But Chewy definitely one of the number one tickers on watch this week. Again, being a little bit more of a, I guess, simmered down. Not really too many earnings there, but we still have, I guess, Nike Day 2. I'm definitely watching as well. We saw what it did all day on Friday. And I think it's probably maybe not done because it closed pretty much near a low of day. So, yeah, exactly. So there may be some more left in the Nike. The Nike may not have fully swooshed just yet, but we'll see. We'll find out as the day goes forward. But yeah, no, hopefully we got some good opportunities on the day. The trade is there. Probably going to be in it.
I mean,
not, whatever.
Let's put it this way. Nike stock was shaving market value kind of like they're shaving material off the kits for the track and field team at the Olympics. Because I don't know if you probably haven't heard this, but let's just say at the Olympics, some of the female track athletes are like, what is going on here? That's not covering anything. And there's going to be some controversy over it, but I think it's usually going to be good press, the Olympics. I think the only good thing going for Nike is going to be, they're going to be everywhere at the Olympics.
Right.
It's definitely not a bad thing. But as you said, you only needed one trade. I know we started the show on Friday looking for shorts in Nike and then basically just shorting it. The only mistake I would say was looking for longs way too early.
Yes.
And so it's just the trend is your friend. We're short it the whole way. Started looking for some long opportunities way too early. It ended up still being a short pretty much on every single pop. Maybe late in the day it gets you a little bit of a bounce. But if we get back in, like 77 looks good. 76. The fact that it went to like right here, Obi was telling me this was like actually 75.99 at 1 o'clock. It gets back into these levels. I still think it's going to have to be a short until it ain't. Not a very good quarter for Nike. The guidance was a bit of the problem there as well. So they're going to be under pressure. I think you just want to be with the trend in a general sense. It might do a bounce at some point. It will be short sell restricted today. So if it does start moving to the upside, you have to be patient when it makes one of those moves up because it's going to be SSR today. And that does make it a little bit tricky when you are trying to get in the short in the other direction. Like trying to get it when it's going down, a little bit more tricky. Usually you have to catch it on the way up.
All right, lots to consider here. Sharif and I were just touching on some quarterly or first half of the year performances, obviously, as of the close on Friday. We get to go back and have a look at. Michael Noss is going to join us, talk a little bit about monthly charts, weekly charts. He had a very exciting weekend going over all of those, as he likes to explain all the time. But before we get to that, it's about 15% for the S&P 500 on the first half of the year. I'm seeing about 18.5, 18.6 or so for the NASDAQ on the first half of the year. Sharif and I were just saying, like, if you go back to January or even December, the end of last year, there were so many unknowns and so many uncertainties going into 2024. I think a lot of people would have taken that no problem if you would have told them, halfway through the year we'd be up that much.
Absolutely, and the kind of almost a yo-yo effect that we had from some of the projections for the interest rates. First, we got the dot plot in December saying 3 cuts this year. Then the market, for whatever reason, started pricing in 6. Now we're down to 1. So there's been a lot of reactions to it, and the charts reflected that. If I can show this super quick here, Fabian. This is the NASDAQ composite. So this includes all the NASDAQ names, not just the top 100. And as I was telling Brendo off camera, we started the 3rd of January, which was the first trading day of the year, at around 14.6 on Friday. As you can see there, we wicked into 18,000. We ended up closing lower, but just shows you the strength this year, Brendo.
Yeah, the March higher continuing as well. A couple things to note coming up this morning, 9:45. We're going to get S&P Global Manufacturing PMI data. The more important and closely watched version, the ISM, then at 10 o'clock. So just mark that at 10 o'clock this morning. We might get a little bit of a market move on the back of that. Yeah, I brought up NIO here, positive on the morning to the tune of 4.3%. We get Chinese EV delivery numbers here going into the first day of July as well.
All three, well, there's more than three, obviously, but the main ones that we talk about on the show, XPeng, Li, and NIO, all reporting, all doing really okay, better than expected. XPeng was really the only question mark here. They delivered 10,688 cars, below the 11,000 that they had projected. Li and NIO both beating their Brendo, but XPeng's Q2 deliveries ended up meeting expectations. It was just last month that they missed.
Yeah, it's always one of those events where you get those numbers and then the market opens and everyone just goes, okay. And it just kind of goes back to wherever it was trading. But another one to throw at you here, 2.6% for Snowflake this morning. Goldman Sachs with a positive note on Snowflake, adding them to their conviction buy list. So 2.6% on the bounce here, back to almost 140 for Snow.
And if you check out the week ahead, well, the week ahead video, fantastic as always, but the week ahead email, that was my pick for this week. It was Snowflake, and it's already breaking out, is what it is. And 3 days in a row going into today was already to the upside, breaking out a decent consolidation level. I think you can pretty much stick a fork in 135 breaking out because it's already happened. Pre-market 140 going to come into play sometime this week. Maybe it happens today, maybe it doesn't, but you can see this one breaking one level to get to the next. And if 140 goes, I think you got the 50 period. I'll zoom out so you can see the 200 period moving average. There you go, all the way up at like 170 bucks. This has a lot of room. First stop, if it takes out 40s, you've got the 50 period on the daily, which support to resistance, the old story, support, resistance. When it lines up like that, usually you're going to find some sellers in that range for Snowflake. Not a lot of volume, decent, but just going back to those EV names, Yuck, NIO. I know NIO's up 4%, but come on. Like this thing, it just really stopped moving. So if they're gonna have a good delivery number, be up 4%, and the volume doesn't do some kind of a decent move to the upside soon, this might be like a nothing burger, sell in front of resistance kind of day and week for NIO. I wouldn't give up on it just yet. If you pull all the way back, like May 1st, there was a very, very big spike, huge volume, and it did make a bit of a breakout through it was like 480 level that got taken out that day. So there's always a chance. Maybe you could get some kind of volume going here. I just feel like when all of the eyeballs are going to be on Chewy, and rightfully so, it's hard for NIO to get going. I wouldn't completely discount it, but you need to have volume for this thing to break out of the range that it's just been languishing in. It's the only one of them, the three, that I'm actually looking at if volume can come in and try to take it to the upside, just because it was so good on May 1st when it broke 480. You'd hope for something similar, but I'm not holding my breath.
Yeah, I think I'm looking at Snowflake this morning. Some interesting action that we've had off of the earnings reports of. I guess we can just go back to March, right? This thing's been melting pretty much to the downside from the first report in February, as well as the last one just last month in May. You can see that steady little downtrend. But look at this flurry of a bid that we've had over the past week or so. Look at that strength coming right back in and pushing towards some of these highs here. 148s and 145s I'm seeing right there, looking left right there. So it's like if we're breaking this trend that we've been in since earnings, a very strong slope that we've been kind of just like treading into right there, and then coming right back up into 145s, 144. So it should be interesting. Again, with the Zacks report, you can see it's doing some relative volume in the pre-market as well. So an interesting look nonetheless in a arena where we may not have too many places to look for. Snow might be something on the horizon.
Yeah, plowing through those offers is.
Oh yeah, for sure.
All right, let's bring him in. Michael Noss, it's Monday morning. He's very kind to jump on Canada Day. Happy Canada Day, Mr. Noss. Good to see you.
Happy Canada Day.
It's going to be a holiday shortened week for both sides of the border. This week, obviously, July 4th. Coming up on Thursday this week. We'll get into performance-wise what things are looking like as we get, new weekly charts, new monthly charts to digest. First half of the year, Sharif and I were just talking about the simple fact that 15% for the S&P, NASDAQ about 18 and change at this point so far this year, given the uncertainty, given what's to come still coming up in November south of the border. I think a lot of people would have taken that, hands down at the beginning of this year.
Yeah, absolutely. Generally speaking, and I'm going to bring some seasonality analysis around that. Generally, what happens around election time, broken down by month, I think on Friday for you guys, do a little bit more work on that. But generally speaking, we're in a choppy period because before the election generally occurs and then into summer months, generally speaking, you don't get these insane movements one way or the other. And, this market's just absolutely been on fire. But as mentioned, we have both weekly charts and monthly charts. And that means I'm not going through my 150 or so charts on the weekend. I went through 300 plus because you got to go through them twice. And I've got some thoughts. I've got some interesting things to take away. So first of all, this is just the S&P 500. It's the S&P 500 on the weekly chart. And if you look at the last two candles, so the last 2 weeks, you can see what's technically referred to as a tweezer pattern. And the idea there is that if you have two very close together, like right next to each other, candles, equal highs or equal lows, sometimes that just shows that we have rejected twice from that price and can be a short-term bearish signal. So I want to watch out for that. Again, it doesn't necessarily mean it has to happen. Probably means there's a lot of stop losses above there too. So if we end up pushing through, that will probably be the reverse of it. But, with the returns kind of shown as is, I wouldn't be shocked to see some profit taking here, and that could push things down a little bit. Or, as we talk about all the time, the S&P 500 is mega weighted to high cap tech right now, so it may be time for some rotation. So I've got some looks on that on some of these monthly charts. So the next chart, I really like the look of this one, XW or X. SW, that one's hard, has been a laggard for a long time. And now this is the software industry. So we've been very big on hardware. We've been very big on AI and the utilities and the energy that's going to be made to run that. Software has been lagging. You can see not even close to that prior 2021 highs, pulling back a little bit, but putting in what looks to me as a very poorly drawn by my part cup and handle. So very strong last month. Again, I want to focus on the fact that the couple weeks on the SP 500 were those topping tails. No topping tails to be seen here. Nice little bull flag pattern. Looks to me like we could be getting some rotation into software from hardware. So that's an interesting look as well. Also here, taking a look at the next one, boat. So this is very nice, aptly named ticker here. Just looking at shippers. So this is shippers overall. We had that crazy run in shippers, last month or 2 months ago, and the month before that. Nice little pullback, but we're holding right at prior highs on this global shipping ETF. So I'm going to watch this closely to see if we have a digestion month or even just a digestion week or two around those all-time highs. Shippers look like they may be interesting. So this next chart is really the one that I wanted to focus on, and that's just the monthly chart of communication. So communications does not mean AT&T and Verizon and all those things anymore. I think the biggest component to the communications is actually Google. It has, Google and Meta and all these kind of companies come into the XLC, and you can see we are right at those prior highs, and we had a massive run to get there. Would not surprise me at all to see again some rest or some pullback. Now we're looking at monthly candles here, and the reason we do that is because we want to know where we are. So if things start to get choppy on a weekly chart or a daily chart, we know why. We're up huge into this prior resistance. So I'm watching to see again a lot of signs of rotation from kind of one to the other on those things. Speaking of rotation, XLE here. This energy ETF is very interesting as well. We talked about topping tails in the S&P 500, big bottoming tail on XLE, our energy ETF on the monthly chart as well. And that's happening after this ascending triangle breakout. So generally bullish pattern, ascending triangles. We see them all the time in the markets on different time frames. We broke out, we pulled back, and we held that and pushed higher. Again, just more evidence is starting to mount up for maybe a rotation out of some of the big tech names into, which would be communications, into energy, maybe into software. And then last but not least here is XLF, which has been now 4 months after breaking this prior high has been just sitting here for 4 months now. Very, very tiny inside months, constantly finding support at that breakout point month after month. It gets to or through that level and then reverses. This one's also interesting to me. And again, not technology, not AI plays. So it may be time that we start to look to pivot from AI. My top things that I'm going to be looking for are energy and financials. These aren't going to be as fun. You're generally not going to get a lot of energy stocks that double or triple. Same with big banks. You know, you're not going to get Goldman Sachs to triple overnight or a way NVIDIA would. But if we're seeing the rotation, that's where we have to take a look at. So now that the monthly timeframes are done, it's time to zoom into some shorter term timeframes, which is what I'll be doing today, and see if I can find some more of that evidence of rotation and look to put my money that, you know, was doing very well in the AI space and into these other sectors.
Worth mentioning. I mean, it's always good to, at the end of a time period, whether it's weekly, monthly, quarterly, or all, take a step back and come up with a plan going forward. But worth mentioning, going into a holiday week with expected lower volume, lower volatility, there's no hurry here. We're just setting up for what could potentially happen next.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have a short day on Wednesday, and then we are closed on Thursday. So not a week that I'm going to be doing a lot, but that's why I love that it kind of lines up with this monthly time frame, because it gives me time to go through these charts and to make my plans and to figure out my points and set my alerts in trade ideas and use TraderTV 20. And then when the prices I'm interested get reached, then I take action, maybe next week or, maybe even a couple weeks if we remain dull for the summer months.
Great stuff. Michael Noss, enjoy your Canada Day. We'll speak again later on.
Talk to you soon.
As always. And you know what? What's interesting, that XLC, the communication services, thank you, that he mentioned about, that's one most people are probably not going to know. Yeah, it's Google. It's basically just Alphabet and Meta. 45% is just those two names. So it's got all the other stuff in it, but that is very, very heavily weighted toward those two. And look, obviously it's performing well, right? Like if Meta's chart is going to look like, what it does, and Alphabet's chart looks just as good on the daily, like they've both gotten back into those highs. That's what the XLC is going to track. So always, one of the things that when I'm looking at my own personal account and my personal portfolio that sometimes I think gets lost for some people, I'm not saying for everybody, is when you own, and if you own those indexes or some ETFs, always try to remember like what's in them and what are the big constituents when you're trying to buy individual stock. Like I know that I've been dollar at cost averaging instead of the SPY. I've been doing the Q the last couple of years. I used to just buy the SPY every single month. Now I've moved that into the Q. So I know what it is that I'm picking up, individual names. Someone asked me if I own Broadcom. I'm like, well, no, because I own that in the index. So it's always important to understand that that's part of your holding as well, especially with some of these names being very, very top heavy in the major indexes. When you're buying an ETF, like if the number one thing in your portfolio is Alphabet followed by Meta, well then XLC, you kind of already own it. Like, so if you're thinking about an ETF like that, it's important to always understand that. Otherwise you can find yourself way, way more overweight in some of these things. Meta, by the way, I don't know if we see 500, but it didn't quite make my list of things to watch, but we're going to talk about some of those drops that you had at the close and the key levels that came in there for sort of like bounce plays, reference plays. But Meta dropped like $8 or $9 itself right at the close into like $504. Apple had a big drop that I like for a bit of a dip buy if we can get it. Do not sleep on when these moves happen. A lot of times they can give you a good indication or a good price level to trade off of on the following Monday.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. Especially with the ETFs. Again, knowing the constituents is a very, very key part. And I'm looking at XLC top 10 holdings, and there's a couple names that are familiar up in here that we were kind of indulging in last Friday. Disney being one of them. I don't think we still kind of figured out what the whole midday quadunque was, but regardless, being one of the top constituents in XLC, I definitely brought that back. up on my board, and I was like, yeah, okay, well, this is a name that we were trading last week as well. Another one that's kind of near and dear to me, I would say, is EA. You know, it's in the game, Electronic Arts right here. So not looking too bad, but I guess post. If I can pull this up. Post last earnings, we've been bidding up quite nicely to the top of this range that we've been doing for, it would seem, a couple of years. So interesting action nonetheless. But yeah, no, I definitely am a strong perpetrator for knowing what you're getting into and then finding better and more efficient ways to kind of make the same investments as well, and ETFs being a great opportunity and vehicle nonetheless. So.
You just said EA in sports. Of course, you're a gamer yourself. I'm not. I'm old. Favorite game of all time before we go to Adara? I'm talking all time.
For what? For
no, it could be a video game, computer game. I don't care. What's your favorite game of all time?
I would say Dragon Age. It's like an RPG type of, yeah.
I'm gonna probably embarrass myself by saying I've never heard of it.
Okay. Yeah. No. It's.
Okay.
What about yours?
I'm gonna have to. This is a weird one, but it is going to be Sports Talk Baseball. It's an old game for like the Sega, but yeah, I'm probably embarrassing myself with that one. There was another Sports Talk Football was pretty good. I played that one a ton, and then probably Mario Kart. Like it's one of those.
Mario Kart's always.
If it's not a sports game, it's definitely Mario Kart. Like that's just one of my faves.
Super Smash Bros.
I play that with my daughter still on the Switch. But apparently we're supposed to go and see some upgrades and downgrades too.
Birkenstock kicking off the list here, getting this upgrade from UBS with an $85 price target. Not the only positive analyst note, though, for Birkenstock this morning. BIRK also getting a initiation here with a buy rating from Stifel and a $65 price target. So BIRK definitely on watch here. We also have Exane BNP Paribas upgrading Magna, and Goldman Sachs upgrading both American Tower and AT&T. On the downgrade side here, Next Era Energy down about 1.5%. Getting this downgrade from RBC Capital Markets. A couple weeks ago, they announced an equity sale, so NEE definitely on watch. DraftKings actually getting a slight increase so far on the day, but they do have that downgrade from Oppenheimer. Then we have Truist Financial downgrading ICF International. And last but not least, Zimmer Biomet getting downgraded by Piper Sandler, guys.
So I saw some good ones in the chat from you guys. You just reminded my
yeah.
GoldenEye. Oh my goodness, So my this weekend, Sean and myself, one of our friends from high school he lives in Texas now. He was up from Texas, had a birthday party for his 2-year-old. We're at his parents' house, which we used to hang out there. We used to hang out at that house when I was in high school playing GoldenEye.
Wow.
When that came out, like almost every single Friday, we're hanging at this dude's house, and I was just in his living room celebrating his daughter's birthday on Saturday. GoldenEye. Now I got to think about that.
That's a classic.
Because
yeah, I've played that one before. That's a good one.
I slept on that. GoldenEye might be right there with Mario Kart. But on the upgrade downgrade list, I think we pulled up at first we pulled up the same name. I know you were going to look at DraftKings too.
No, I pulled up a couple of them. I think AT&T is a good one on that list as well. And I looked at Birkenstock, the first one, because that was an IPO recently, right? Earlier last year, ended last year, beginning of this year. But yeah, I was like, I wonder how Birkenstock is doing with a little bit of an upgrade. We are getting a slight gap up, I guess, nothing too significant in terms of volume in the pre-market here as of right now. But it does do some decent volume, and it's been holding up above its IPO price as well. Birkenstock trading at 56.66 with a high of 61 right here. And all-time lows were made not too long after the IPO, and we've only been holding this 36 level since and incrementally making higher lows. And we've had three sets of earnings reports as well. So we've pretty much, I guess, traded above all of those earnings prices, so it seems like the sentiment might be pretty decent going forward on Birkenstock with this upgrade as well. What's going on with DraftKings?
Well, I think DraftKings had a good day on Friday, and not everything had a great day at the end of the day. But DraftKings, if you just zoom it out, higher lows are good. Last I checked, I know it's making like lower highs as well into a bit of a wedge pattern. But if you look at the overall trend, it's been pretty solid. This last dip was harsh. So I think it has a problem with this trend up top. I feel like I'm gonna draw this trend line and just save it and leave it. And then maybe we trade back up to it at some point. And if we do, I want to remember how ridiculous that actual top was. But you've held the 50 period, sorry, you held the 200 period on Friday, just getting back above it at $38. There was a lot of names are going to have these big volume candles end of the month there, end of the quarter, end of the half a year as well. So you're going to have a lot of big volume candles, but this held right at the high of the day in and around that 38 level. So the 200 period moving average is at 38. It's got all kinds of action on Friday, 37.80, 38.20, just a 40-cent range all afternoon into that 200 period moving average. If it holds that today, I think this can make another leg to the upside. So I got it on watch. There's no catalyst today. It's only 40,000 in volume. The upgrade not really giving it too much juice. But as long as it holds that this week, it's a great base of action for DraftKings.
All right, let's get into everything else we need to know here on a Monday morning. Sharif's going to lead us off with a look at the market.
Remember this one?
55.21, guys. That's where we closed out on Friday. We're still holding that key area of support, formerly resistance, 55.10. That was the consolidation area top from the middle to late June. We've been holding that level since that time. So unless we break down below 55.10, let's use it as support to the high side. That 55.50 has been a line in the sand the last few days. Let's see if we can break through that level.
Heavy volume you can see there on Friday coming into the downside for the futures. If you haven't done so, go grab that. Go to the website, tradertv.live. Wait for the pop-up, enter your email address, and then you get the absolutely free morning watch list every single day. Has everything you need to know in the pre-market daily. We'll talk Chewy here, but I mean, these kind of go hand in hand. GME downside in a big way here this morning, 7+% now on heavy volume. We're consolidating, however, just below 23 at this point. Yeah, Keith Gill getting slapped with this. I mean, there are allegations at this point of securities manipulation, securities fraud in the state of New York. And this goes back to the social media post starting in May of this year regarding GME.
Yeah, it's a tough look here. Obviously, with the multiple posts that Roaring Kitty had, with GameStop now looking on the wrong end of the suit. It was filed June 28th by an individual by the name of Martin Rydayev, basically alleging that he manipulated the stock through his social media posts, as Brendo mentioned. As we talked about earlier this morning as well, the amount of shares that he has in Chewy, very similar to the quantum of money that he had in those call options on GameStop. So you have to wonder if he rolled it.
Yeah, the price action this morning would tend to suggest the answer to that is yes. Can we get back above 23 here right now? Trying pretty hard, guys, on decent volume for GME.
Oh boy, nice.
I'm just saying, like this is a 15-minute chart of GameStop, and if it loses 22.5, that's a flat bottom break. I mean, 22 is probably the obvious level. You can see the difference in volume when it was hot to when it is not, and every single pop. Now I'll zoom it in so we can get rid of the theatrics there. Even if it does squeeze, look at $26. So I've paid for locates today on GameStop. If you see 26 by some miracle this week, then I think that would be a level you look for shorts up there. If it loses 22.5, you look for shorts down at the bottom. It wouldn't be, it's not 10% down till it gets to 22, 23 or something like that. So like $22.23 it'd be SSR, which means there's plenty of room for it to go. It's worth mentioning it's at the 50 period when it gets to 22.5. So you have a lot of things converging. You have a bit of a trend since the squeeze and all that good stuff. You have a support level. If it loses this, I mean, the next leg down, I think you see the teens. You got like $18 in there that could catch a bid. So GameStop, it's at $23. I mean, it has to go like another 2% down before it even gets there to make any kind of a breakdown. But Chewy is just a different story. Look, 11% up, 15% short float-ish. Obviously, that might have changed on Thursday. There's a decent chance that there were some funds probably adding shorts, I would assume, on that run up when we had that tweet. But until proven otherwise, it's holding above the key price. On that day, it was $28 when the tweet happened and squelched to the upside. It was $28 at the bottom the day before. On Friday, it broke down at 28 bucks. So I want to give it chances. It just has to make you got to do something. It's only going down in the pre-market. So it might just be, we always talk about like over-under plays. In the afternoon on that Thursday, 30.5, 30.5, 30.5, 30.5, and then 29. Like in here at 30, I want no part of anything with Chewy. If it's breaking out above it, then I want to think about, okay, breakout longs and squeezes, all that stuff. And if it breaks down below it and loses 28, I think you should be willing to go short it. There's no chance I want to be only one direction. I remember when GameStop did something similar. It's like, you only look for the longs. Like, okay, that's all well and good, but then if it doesn't actually break out anything and you don't look for a short, you just waste your time on the stock doing all the volume in the world. So if it doesn't ever break out that 33 and breaks down from here, I got to be willing to look for shorts back into some of those bottoms. But I am only looking one way on GameStop.
Yeah, no, I like the look there on GameStop. Now again, not priority of mine today, but definitely on watch. I have the weekly up here. You can see what it's been doing since the beginning of this move in 2020 and 2021. Right there, we can't really break back below this $10 mark, and this time around as well. 2024, that's in and around the same places where this move kind of started off there. We're coming right back into some of these lows at 20, so I do have that on watch. Again, bit of a failure to follow through, bit of a bigger picture liquidity trap that we kind of had off of this initial move in the beginning to middle of May there. And you had some residual pops as well. But yeah, coming back kind of down into some of these previous levels, $20 might be a little interesting, bit of consolidation zone. We dropped down to 17, it was this 18, 17 and change, failed to follow through and ripped right back up. And now we're kind of trying to trickle back down on lowered volume. Now, again, something else to note is, eyes are kind of on Chewy now. So is the game over for GME? Who knows? But it seems like sentiment might have shifted over with Kitty kind of tweeting the Chewy move there. But yeah, we'll get to that one. We'll see how that one goes. But a little bit of a potential downtrend coming back into some of these support resistance levels. A lot of chop in between this 20 to 23, 22 area here with a low of 17. But you got to remember, we started winding up in the low teens off of that failure to follow through below 10. So just looking at the chart, that's what I'm seeing right here. GME, not necessarily number one idea, but definitely not saying that there may or may not be opportunities there today. It is selling off quite decently in the pre-market and is doing some expanding relative volume as well going into the open. So definitely going to be on watch for me today.
All right, the next one then on the other side of the coin here, Chewy. It's off the highs significantly already this morning, 35 down to 30. We are trying to bounce right now, but yeah, that's 6.6% passive stake coming via 13G filing for Chewy. Remember this one now with a little bit of a larger short percent than GME, according to recent data.
Yeah, and another company linked to Ryan Cohen here, Brendo, that Keith Gale is choosing to invest in. 9 million shares, as you mentioned, 6.6% stake in the company. About $245 million is the value of that based on the Friday closing price. That makes him the third largest shareholder of the company. We'll have to see how they do, but yeah, interesting look today. Keep your eye on this one.
We'll see if there's enough attention. I mean, GME already had 3 million shares traded so far this morning. Chewy not quite there yet, guys.
And look, we went over kind of both of them, I think, just there. But I will add one thing when it comes to Chewy. And if you look at this weekly chart, it's going to give you an idea. Obviously, the volume spike that you're going to have seen, everything due to that Thursday tweet by Roaring Kitty. It was a monster level. When you talk about big levels, support to resistance, this is down around $24 in the weekly going to 2022. You zoom it in, and this was right here, 24, 25. You just broke that out. So even if it ends up, today ends up like a bit of a nothing burger and maybe it does trend down, don't sleep on the fact that that Friday bottom, if it somehow gets all the way down there in front of 25, that is a big level on that weekly. And if we do see that, and you're looking for places for any kind of a bounce, it would have to go red and then significantly red. So in a higher time frame, there are some deeper pullback levels. I know I was saying if it loses this consolidation it has, I'm probably looking for some shorts for it to just trend down all day. But if that does happen, there is that 25 level out on the weekly chart and the daily chart on Chewy. It's more interesting if we can break this thing out. You know, I'd like to see, with the squeeze name, your ideal is that it squeezes. Now, obviously, when it trends down, it can be really good. But as a day trader, if you come back to the Thursday, like, which is the trade that you prefer? Like, don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong with, like, look at the short. There's a consolidation short. But look what happens when it squeezes. I mean, the breakout, you're just instantly winning. Just instantly. And it just absolutely flies. So that's what I would prefer to happen. But just because you want it doesn't mean it will. This is that 33 level. The only bounce that happened on that Thursday, like you see it drop after the halt up and everything. The only bounce was right here at 31, and it attempted to break 33. It then dumped. So this is why 33 after the open is a big one. Like either it breaks 33 or there's just no squeeze. It's that simple. 31 to 33 is not, I mean, it's a good trade, but the chances this goes parabolic rests on it getting through 33.
Yeah, no, I like that 33 level as well. Something I want to note is the earnings reaction that we had coming into this move, right? Yeah, sure. Thursday there was a tweet. We're getting some more action in the pre-market today, but kind of building into the bigger picture that's of price action that's kind of occurred coming into these events as of last week. Take a look at this earnings report, over almost 300%, I guess. Surprise on their earnings. Sure, their estimate was 0.3 and they got 0.15, and then a bit of a surprise as well on their revenue. But look at the price action, aggressive strength off of that earnings reaction, and those reference prices from earnings day one have done nothing but held just above that 2021 mark there, sideways consolidation, and then we've been kind of building up into this. We got a little bit of a squeeze. Now we know that the ticker sits at about a 15% short float almost, and maybe some of that getting taken care of as of last Thursday, and maybe some more as of today as well. So I'm going to kneel about, yeah, sure. Some of the short interest numbers are a little bit delayed. They tend to be a couple of weeks delayed there, but as of last Thursday, maybe we've accumulated some more shorts as the ticker popped all the way up to 39s and then flushed all the way back down, recovering most of that move there. You can see, kind of looking left here from July, some aggressive selling that came in into and off of that $40 level. We've been making lower highs as well from some of these 21, 22 COVID kind of euphoria highs as well. So definitely a lot of history on this ticker for both the long and the short side. We know that it is heavily shorted. Well, not too heavily, being at 15%, but definitely has potential for going both ways, for the squeeze and for a flush as well. The backside was absolutely beautiful, and so was the front side squeeze on Thursday. Let's see if we can get some more of that coming into today. Look at that consolidation at the end of the day on Thursday. We're holding exactly those levels, just underneath, in and around that $30 mark. So I'll be using some of these prices as references and some of the pre-market levels as well to see what Chewy will have in store for us today. But definitely doing some decent volume this morning. I have here at 8.6 million shares traded in the pre-market, and take a look at this expanding relative volume going into the open. So definitely an interesting look. One of the top ideas on my watch for sure on the day.
All right, let's talk Tesla. Back to the upside today after that reversal we saw. If you go back to Friday and have a look at what happened, remember we had that initial push higher, and then it just got absolutely slammed. We end the day going into the weekend around that 197 area, back above 200 and holding. A couple of positive analyst notes this morning. 120, kind of interesting here from Wells Fargo on the price target specifically. Remember, deliveries should be coming up here any day now.
Yeah, so Wells Fargo putting them on their tactical list, not for a good reason here, but for a bad reason, maintaining their underweight rating on the stock, basically predicting a 14% year-over-year decline in deliveries for 2024, which is below the consensus estimate. There's many other reasons that they're downgrading the stock as well. On the other side of the coin, Wedbush, very bullish on technology. They see it a little bit differently. They predict Tesla is going to go through a mini rebound in Q2, reaching potentially 435,000 deliveries. The range right now is between 415 and 420. They also like price stability and continued recovery in China. They say basically the price cuts there are done, and the consumers there kind of know that they're done, so they're not going to wait out for them anymore.
Yeah, the company's still dominating on deliveries across the board and sales compared to any other company at this point as well, so we have to keep that in mind. A lot of profit taking possibly going into the weekend, end of the first half of the year, obviously at the close on Friday. You can see the closing print itself, just absolutely monstrous, guys.
And so what's interesting, I had an interesting discussion with my wife this weekend about Teslas and white Teslas being rare, which they are, but there was some disagreement on that front. And I somehow managed to somewhat lose that argument despite the fact that I was 100% right. But I think, look, I'm going to let you guys, I know it's true. I was just like, okay. What? And then the worst part about it was we ended up driving past one.
Yeah, and it happened to be a white Tesla. Yeah.
Like it just, we never see, there's one in our neighborhood, and we were talking about it. And then we, later on in the day, we end up driving past one. She's like, see, there's another one. I'm like, oh goodness. They're still rare, it's not normal. But Tesla, almost everybody it's a holiday here in Canada. And all the traders that have come in, trust me when I tell you, this is one of the names on the list today for a lot of people. And some of it's going to have to do with the fact that we're back above that $200 level. So 200 on Friday, it was good early. You had a breakout 200, it got to 03. It bounced off 200 at 10:30 and got to 03 again. And then you guys all know the rest if you're trading on Friday. Once it lost it, it was just a short back into 95. Whether or not you have a chance to trade off that level this week remains to be seen. The 198 previous high into a close price, that's a key level for dip buy support. Then you got the 200 level itself for dip buy support. You could be breaking at 203. There's 4 or 5 ways to trade this to the long side today. Up 1.5% into a flat market, doing good volume. I know the eyeballs are going to be here. So I like this. The other, only because I said I promised I would go over some of these. Tesla at the close on Friday was one that rallied into the close. So it rallied into that 198. So setting up for a dip buy there, dip buy there. Breakout, I'd prefer not to. I'd rather be looking for dip buys. But I'm going to just quickly mention Apple, because Apple did something completely opposite at the close. Apple was selling all day long. And then at the close, it did this dip into 210. And you're like, well, why would you want to consider a long off of 210? It's just because the Friday before, there's a dump. These things look very similar last I checked. So you had a day where it was trending into the close, it dumped, and then the next Monday, there is a wick through the bottom, a hold of that 07 level, and it just ran $5-6. So if I see the same thing happen on Apple, I just want to be long. This is the 210. If it wicks this bottom from Friday and holds at the open, then I want to be long back through on Apple. That is a very particular trade. It's not any catalyst or anything like that. So Tesla, I like the trend. I like what it's doing, all these multiple levels on the chart. It's strong relative to the market. But Apple, it did this 2 Fridays before. If it does it again, I want to try long. That's a very simple structure there for Apple.
Yeah, I like that. I like that look on Tesla. Some strength coming back in off of a strong dip in the 140s here. Now this is a 3-month chart, so it does look a little bit different in terms of where Tesla might be headed. But we're kind of in a sideways consolidation on the larger time frame here. Let's go down to the weekly, and then you can see as well a dominant downtrend off of some of these prior all-time highs in and around the 400s. And we've been talking about how Tesla may be making its way back up to that 200, and lo and behold, here it is. That 200 mark. You can see that on the weekly and on the daily, some confluencing multi-time frame level breakouts potentially happening here. 205 as well. So going down to the 15-minute, we can kind of capture some of this, some more of that price action at a closer scale. We can see that over the past couple of weeks, we've been having some strong bids, some gaps. The pullbacks keep on getting bought up. Again, you just saw it on the 3-month and the monthly or the weekly chart. We've been having some strength there to the upside. So this 200 mark should be interesting. 205, kind of that level. Looking left, if you do push for a breakout, that 205 again, right here, 207. Was it 204.70s, 204.50s from earlier on in March, it would seem, earlier March this year. So yeah, if we continue this trend today, let's see if we can push some of those levels. But the bigger picture does seem like it's been trending up just slightly within an even bigger picture range to the range going sideways. So I'll be watching out for that. We had some strong selling middle to end of the day on Friday there on Tesla with the double top in and around that 203. So yeah, literally looking at prior day reference prices at 203.20s. Let's see if we can break through some of those highs with this strength coming in the pre-market on Tesla.
On the same front, Chinese EV delivery numbers coming out first day of the month. Typically when we get these, as I mentioned earlier, it's most of the time kind of a nothing burger, but 4.5% for NIO to the upside so far this morning coming out. I mean, all of them decent, I guess, across the board, but we'll see what happens when the market opens here.
All right, so we'll talk about what they actually delivered and what they're projecting for the next quarter. So NIO doing the best out of the three right now with their new monthly record for deliveries, 21,209 vehicles, way exceeding the 19,000 the analysts were looking for. Li Auto fared a little bit better than XPeng. They delivered 47,774 cars. The street was looking for 47,000. And XPeng, they missed 10,688. The street was looking for 11,000. But all three, Brendo, looking to beat in their Q2 estimates.
This chart kind of gives you an idea of how these stocks have performed over the last little while here. From our friends over at Benzinga, there's a code in the description of the video, guys, or scan that QR code, bottom right corner right now if you want a discount off Benzinga. That's $1,000 invested in NIO and Li, worth about $500 now.
I don't really have too many ideas for those names because I don't think they're going to be much of a trade today. I could be wrong about that. So instead, I'm going to show you what I missed out on yesterday because with my leg, I can't go to Jay's games. Thank you very much for all of those crazy stares that they have. But it was Junior Jay's Sunday, and my daughter took her best friend from school. And if you guys have never seen kids run the bases, it's like an assembly line. You march everybody down in a gigantic line of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of children, and then they get to first base, and then basically this happens. Come to my screen here. Can I full screen it? It won't let me full screen. But second they go, it's like bang, and they're gone. And your entire and the whole time that's happening, I don't want to out myself. Come off the screen for a second before I do this. No, and the funny thing is, the second they do that, all of the parents get herded like cattle. Get to the end of the line for your kids because you gotta take them. You can barely even get any kind of video of them running around the bases or pictures because they're like, get to the end, pick up your kids. They're just shuffling you through like cattle. It's absolutely wild. And my daughter just took off on her friend. It was like bye-bye, and she was all the way gone. She just loves to sprint around the bases. She doesn't enjoy it. I mean, she enjoys it, but she doesn't take any time to savor it. She does it as fast as she can, she's trying to prove a point, because she always has to be first. NIO, I think it stinks. You know what? That's a mean thing to say. This is what's happening in NIO. If NIO doesn't break 460, 480, any of these levels here, I think it's a short the pop situation until proven otherwise. I don't care how good the delivery numbers are. There's just nothing going on with this stock. And I know volume can come into it, but volume still it's 923 and no volume has come into this. I think it's a huge disappointment. Used to be when you had a good delivery number, things would actually move. I was asked, am I going to short XPeng today? Now I think there's other things to trade today. Chewy, Apple, Tesla, GME, Day 2 Nike, NVDA, which we haven't even gone to. As a matter of fact, let me just talk NVIDIA because that's more worthwhile than getting into some of those. And don't get me wrong, if you want to join some of those trends to the downside, there are trades to be had, like shorting pops into resistance has worked. But NVIDIA, I mean, look at NVIDIA 123, 123, 123, 123, over and over again, all late last week. And then you're right back to the 123 support. Just trending a gap underneath, right back to that being support. If this loses 122.5, I've been looking, I thought NVIDIA is along at this level pretty much every single day. But if it loses 122.5 at the open, I think NVIDIA should just be a short. If you can't hold on to that support, as long as it's above this line, like that's been the spot to go long. But yeah, today looking a little bit peckish. NVIDIA trying to battle this 123 for the 4th day in a row.
Yeah, some of these delivery numbers coming out on these EVs. Again, the chart showing a little bit of a different picture. I feel like some of these EVs are definitely losing their charge here, or lost their charge over time. You can see this is the weekly chart. This is XPEV, right? This is LI. Look at that. LI kind of a rangy, very rangy ticker. So maybe this is looking a little bit more, I guess, enticing because it has been fluctuating in about 100% of 100% when it comes to the range. It's down here in the teens, and then it pushes back up into the 40s, and then comes right back into the teens. So LI looking quite interesting, hitting the lower end of its range that it's been doing. And NIO as well. Look at that one, looking very similar to that of XPEV. So yeah, even though coming in with pretty decent deliveries, and yeah, don't forget, these tickers do some decent volume on the daily. NIO, even though it trades at a $4 price, the average volume is 45 million on the 30-day there. So definitely opportunities nonetheless, but as Neil said, there are other opportunities in the market that definitely align with my playbook a little bit better. Not saying that these tickers don't have opportunities, they definitely do, but they are doing relative volume in the pre-market as well. So we'll see what's in store with some of these Chinese EVs.
If you zoom out on Snowflake's chart, you get a picture of what the past few days have been like here. Nice bounce back move right through 139 this morning, or tagging 139 this morning. I just went back to their last earnings release. About 4 cents on the miss, to the wrong side of the scale here. But Goldman Sachs this morning adding Snowflake to their conviction buy list.
They did, Brendo. They also added Global, E-Online, and Fox Corp, but we'll talk about Snowflake. They added it due to the attractive entry point and the increased data storage analytics use. The analyst Kash Rangan expects a new CEO to accelerate product development, leading to faster customer adoption and revenue growth. So we'll have to see how they do. The removals at the Goldman Sachs list, Monday.com, and Quantitrix, Brendo.
Not a lot of participation behind this yet. 180-ish thousand shares this morning.
It's not a lot, and we sort of talked about this like on Friday. It was Thursday and Friday that I kind of, actually Thursday when I came up with this one as my trade for this week, and it's broken out that top. I don't know if you get a chance at 136 on any kind of a dip, but if it does try to fill in the gap, 135, 136 would make a little bit of sense. But yeah, it needs to get through 140 bucks. You can see it, that level in April, bounced off 142 there, and then when it lost that same previous high, it consolidated right underneath 140. So this needs to break 140. I think you can go rallying if you're going to get through that number. But we got enough names that we're interested in here. Watch out, Chewy just lost 30 bucks. Uh-oh. Yeah, remember, don't get always, if a stock is going to be the #1 volume thing on the day, or like the #1 thing that you want to be constantly looking at in trading, you want to be willing to trade in both directions. So I want to keep an open mind here with Chewy and not just be thinking about, hey, it's got to break a 33 long, and then you end up sitting there doing nothing because it never breaks a 33 long. So just watch out. Chewy just lost 30 bucks and might be trending into Friday's close if it can't get back above.
Yeah, Pablo with the super chat. Good morning, Neil. Is Uber in your radar today, Neil? I already talked about Snowflake a little earlier. Yeah, I did have it on my radar, but I guess do you want to talk about it first?
No, yeah. Thank you very much. Appreciate the super chat. I think we mentioned this last week. 74 needs to break on Uber, and I do this a lot. Where if there's like one idea that you're waiting all week for, I tend to not. It's just like, okay, well, it still hasn't broken $74, so wake me up when it breaks $74. It's at $72.50, so it's possible, I suppose. I could always break that level, but it's a 74 break that's interesting to me on Uber.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that one. I do have it on watch because, again, on the daily, it's, to me, this is looking kind of similar to Tesla there, in terms of like a breakout pattern happening. 74 is definitely on watch. Let's see if that kind of builds into it. But yeah, take a look at this on the daily here, Uber, and then you can take a look at Tesla as well. So weekly and daily levels coming in on both of these tickers, but again, obviously very distinctly different in terms of how and what or who trades behind some of these names, but interesting to watch, to keep on watch nonetheless. But yeah, no, I definitely do have Uber on watch for a potential breakout trade through that 74.
We got the countdown.
What's going on?
It's market open. Let's get to it
no.
in 2 and 1. Ring it. All right, Chewy immediately still holding underneath that $30 level and dropping a little bit here. Apple was looking for that dip and rip, as well as it looks like it's not really falling off the cliff just yet. And you're going to get a little bit of action here in NVIDIA as well to the upside. Nothing too crazy. Haven't really seen anything completely out of the pocket just yet. So we're going to play the patience game. We wanted a dip and rip on Apple. That's not going to come into play. We wanted a dip and rip on Tesla. Tesla pulling to the upside almost immediately here through 201. 202, I should say. So that one is flying to the upside. Yeah, NVIDIA might lose that 123. Here's the battle at 123. That was a level all week long last week. Well, the last 3 days of the week. Oh, there's a hold, so they just defended 123. I'm going to try and get in there off that local bottom.
Yeah, so watching Chewy at just at that $30 level, as well as Nike. Again, Nike was a little significant last week as well, so I'm kind of keeping this one on watch. Let's just to see what we may have in store. Again, earnings day 2, right? So maybe some continuation. But yeah, I'm gonna have to wait and see. ES and NQ, we keep talking about that 20,000 level. We're still right there at that on the NQ, just only about 25 points below that 20,000 level. So let's see if we do some more magneting around this level as we have been over the past couple of weeks or so. 29 still holding on Chewy. And 76 that was an interesting area as well. Going into Friday last week, I observed a little bit of an iceberg there, and that iceberg eventually dropped right at that 76. End of day pop comes into that 76 once again. Can't really get too far, and then we just trade sideways for the rest of the day. So I do have that 76 level on watch. On Nike, and as of right now, we're attempting to push a little bit higher there, trading at 75.70s, but it seems like it can't really get through that as of right now. Nothing too crazy in terms of size going through as of right now, but again, it's only been a couple of minutes off of the open. I do want to give it some more time. We've traded now 50 pennies off of that 76 level to the downside here. No real, nothing too significant being seen on the tape here, but we are pulling back off quite nicely. Same thing going on with Chewy there. Chewy's pulling back into 29s. Something to note as well on Chewy is prior day's consolidation NVIDIA highs end of day. What's going on with NVIDIA?
NVIDIA just broke 123 south side, so looks like that breakout. If you took it, you might have got like 60, 70 cents, but it's now breaking into the downside. If you're going to have an over-under, always be willing to go in the other direction. I don't want to chase too far, but I'm now looking for the other side of the trade. It's an immediate dump on, Chewy's going to the downside as well. Immediate dump on NVIDIA. Could not even break out that pre-market high. So if it can't do that, I want to be short back into 123. We'll see what happens. And Tesla, you can go for the dip and rip, but if it doesn't dip, then it only rips. Tesla is absolutely gone. Through that 203, it never even wavered. There wasn't even any kind of a pullback at the open. It was just one way and only one way. Chewy is also dying. If I'm not going to get Chewy to the south side, remember, thank you GameStop for not filling me. I like GameStop as well. We tried to catch it back through 23.5. I'm going to wet my beak at VWAP here on GME. This was the name out of the two that I was more willing to be into the short, into that flat bottom break. So GameStop showing some signs of weakness here. Back into VWAP, going to give shorts into this local high. It was like 23.65 that about the top on GME. So GME going down, Chewy going down. You're giving it up over there on NVIDIA. And it's Tesla that's absolutely flying here, Obi.
Yeah, look at the NQ here, Neil. NQ's dropping quite aggressively there off of some of this pre-market action that we were having just underneath the 20 thou. And here comes 75 on Nike. So we did kind of reject that 76 quite well right off of the open there. There's some size sitting right on top of 75 as well as right there. So you can see the 360 or so lots sitting right on top of 75. So is Chewy. Chewy's kind of pulling back as well. Kind of just waiting, patiently waiting for some of this, for us to print that 5-minute opening range here. We're almost there with only about 15 seconds left for that 5-minute to print. You can see that stack right there on that 75. Look at that stack getting taken out, decrementing, and aggressively selling off. Rebid right there back through that 75. So some interesting action here happening on Nike right at that 75 level. Again, prior day low being at 74.55. Let's see if we continue a little bit of that strong trend that we were having on Nike the day before, right? So we sold off not only off of earnings. People were like, actually, the reports were saying how, again, not really the earnings report not really being taken too well in terms of sentiment, and selling off quite aggressively for one of the worst days Nike's had since its IPO. Right, so 30 selling off as well. Not really involved in Chewy just yet. I want to give it a couple more minutes there on both these tickers just to give you some direction. But that 76 level seems like that was the place to be on Nike. People talking about AMD.
AMD is absolutely
NVIDIA. What's going on?
Throttling to the downside. I'll get to those first, but it's Flush City. NVIDIA is still back at 121.5. I've been trying to get it back into this 123, but AMD is really taking on the chin, down 2% and still falling. So let's try to zoom it out here. Look, if GameStop breaks 22.5, remember, GameStop 22.5 is a separate level for me. So I'm going to get out in front of that level and see if it breaks. But AMD, support at 156, if it even gets there. That was last week's support level. I think there's a better chance in shorting Pops in NVIDIA. But Flush City, we got one short on. That's going to be GameStop as we head to Adara at the desk. What do you have for us?
Beware of Robinhood here. Robinhood just holding on to being positive here on the day, seeing this circulated online. Apparently there are some issues with the website, some user problems, seeing this circulated by a few users here on X. So just be aware of Robinhood. Bit of a move to the downside here on decent volume. HOOD, guys, some user issues.
Yeah, another name I guess we were watching was Uber. I do have it pulled up here. Uber selling off quite aggressively, breaking past prior day's lows. Chewy potentially catching a little bit of a bid here, trying to print the, I guess, initial green candle there, both on the 5-minute. I'm looking at the 3-minute as well. Maybe a little bit of a bid catching on top of prior day's opening prices in and around that 28 level here on Chewy. So let's see how well that holds. 75 cracking there, 74 halves coming in. Prior day lows on Nike are at 74.55. So I'm kind of watching that level as a reference just to see where we go off of that. But yeah, kind of looking back at it, 76 might have been the best place to kind of get involved, as again, prior day we saw what happened in and around there. So I will be patiently waiting. NQ dropping a little bit more aggressively here than the ES. A couple other names I did have on watch was MRK. MRK had a little bit of a strong dump going into the close. That's kind of wiping right back up. And something else to note, McDonald's as well. What's going on?
Tesla 205, bye-bye,
Wow,
it's gone. This is getting, it's parabolic with the market doing literally nothing. You can pull up a chart of the NASDAQ if you don't believe me. I'm not even going to waste my time showing it to you. Wow. 205 just got taken out on Tesla. So the long is winning. I'm not chasing up here. Let's daily chart for a second. I'm not chasing up here. This is that big level. 206 is when we bounced off trend. 206 was resistance. So I'm not going to be looking for the longs right up top here at the 05 level. It's just entirely too high. And I didn't really show you guys the chart on GME, but 22.5, it has been the bottom support. We took some out at 23. Gonna look to get it all out in front of 22.5. If 22.5 goes, I think it's a flat bottom break on its own right. It's the only thing that we actually were able to get at that open. It is working that short. Chewy is still falling. don't know that I want to be short this consolidation. It's getting pretty close to a possible bounce spot. Let's go back to Adara.
Just be aware here of Cassava Sciences. You may remember this one had a big drop coming in on Friday, announcing that Huayang Wayne was basically tried here with some falsifying of research. Late on Friday, right at 4 p.m., the company came out and said that he was not actually involved in these phase 3 trials of Similifam. This was related to Alzheimer's research. Now this morning, the company coming out saying they're actively engaging with the DOJ and the SEC with these ongoing investigations. So a bit of volatility here. Worth noting some volume on SAVA, also getting a downgrade this morning to neutral from H.C. Wainwright. So keep an eye on this company. This story could still be moving around here, guys.
Yeah, that one was interesting on Friday. I know you took fills on that ticker.
We had a couple of shorts on it, but there was no follow through late in the day. So I think it probably has something to do with maybe the fact that the news, some of it baked in and maybe not already that bad. Oh, give me a break. NVIDIA, all right, cancel there. Look at NVIDIA. That 122 just started holding underneath VWAP, tried to grab it when it broke the 80s. I'm sitting there 79 with an order, didn't get the fill. We're still tanking. NVIDIA's tanking. Now the market's starting to come with it. It looks like we're going to be giving it up. I just want to look over. There's a couple of other names if I don't get the short in. NVIDIA wanted to look back over at what Micron was doing, actually relatively strong. AMD, we already mentioned, it had that. I don't want to chase that bottom one so close to that 156, so we're not going to chase that one into the downside. And Tesla starting to give it up as well. So we're short only one name in here and looking for that pop if we can get it on NVIDIA. And Snowflake as well. Shout out to Trader Forever. Snowflake coming right back in to fill in that gap to 136. Sometimes it's a level that you don't necessarily expect to come in, and we're already here. So 136, that's the gap fill, pull back on Snowflake. They did get an upgrade today, but filling in that gap. Friday's high, first place I'd look for a bounce.
Yeah, so a little bit of a hold here on Chewy, just in and around this 29. Has me a little interested. Let's see if we can kind of, I have VWAP in and around 30. That's where that pre-market consolidation right before the open is as well. Just about a point away on Chewy. We have sold off quite aggressively since the pre-market session there. You can see that kind of, what are these highs here? 35, 37 I have as a pre-market high. And like I said earlier, this is kind of the level here. I'll pull it up on my chart here. Wow, that Tesla's still going. That 205 coming in real hot. But yeah, let's just quickly.
06 is coming in real fast.
Check out Chewy here. Look at that prior day opening prices in and around some of these levels, 28 halves. Seems like we're holding as of right now. But this 29 might be a little trouble there. So might not work on the first try there, might not work at all, but I am kind of watching this to see if it can give us some opportunities for a bounce back towards VWAP there. Similar thing here on Nike. That prior day level was what 74.50s, and we're holding that as of right now. Got stopped out of that Chewy trade as it pulls back in a little aggressively off of that 29. I guess 29 can't really break through as of right now. 74.60s, 74 halves holding there on Nike with a little bit of strength coming in for the first time since the open. And since the open, we've been selling off quite aggressively. And now finally, we're getting a little bit of action going into the ask there. Again, this name is on SSR, so I do have to keep that in mind and keep it on watch as any sort of bid coming in real hot might carry us back to VWAP. VWAP on Nike being in and around, if I can just pull it up here. Where's my VWAP? Yeah, 75.15. So pretty much right back there. So 50 penny pop happening as of right now on Nike off of some of these lows here. 74.50s. Let's see if we can reclaim that 75 and maybe do some interesting action with VWAP. But the NQs are pulling back quite aggressively here. And it seems like my ES might be a little frozen as...
Remember you had an issue with the ES chart last week. I would double check that. I would close it and restart it.
Yeah.
Just very quickly, Tesla, hey, 69. You know, I thought I was getting 70s, but I actually am getting 69s. So Tesla, we wanted a dip buy in it. Obviously, you're not going to see a dip buy, but it gets to that 206 level we pointed out on the daily chart. So you just got to take the next trade. It's not the trade you want. It's the trade that's going to be in there. So 206, just pull back off 94s. I have it here at 70. If it breaks the top, we get out. If it flushes from here, great. I just added to GameStop as well. Came right back into those teens, so I did reload GME. It's back underneath 23. We're going to take some out there. Tesla absolutely flying, but remember, this is that level on the daily, that 206. Want to make sure we grab some profit. It's trending stock to the upside this early. I'm looking VWAP retracement almost every single time. So, there's the reload underneath VWAP on GameStop, continuing to head to the downside. I keep looking at Chewy, and it's like, do I only want to be short? The market's weak. Like, why not? Said be willing and be flexible. If it's not going to break from here, I don't see why Chewy can't be shorted if it loses this consolidation. Is what it is. We don't even have to pay for locates on this thing. Like, they're actually free for us. We want to be ready for it. NVIDIA continues to dump. I just got to cancel that offer at VWAP. You're not getting it. Might have to go over to Micron as we go to Adara.
We're waiting on the S&P Global Manufacturing PMI here for June. This is going to be the final print. Previous 51.3, consensus 51.7, forecast also 51.7 here. So this number coming in 51.6, so above the previous number 51.3, slightly below the consensus and forecast of 51.7. Not much of a change here. SPY continuing to chop and churn about in a range here. Slightly positive on the day right now. Again, that manufacturing PMI final for the month of June, the S&P Global 51.6 versus the estimate of 51.3, previous of 51.7, guys.
So I just got tagged on the bid right before Tesla ran the top. It is now gone through that 06 level. We just got some out, and now it's starting to go. Not going to hold through every single time it breaks a level like that. My stop is going to be at the even dollar. I'm not shorting it past this level. It's got to get to like 210 or anything like that. It's an absolute monster to the upside at this point. Tesla, like I said, I got GameStop, and I went on over, and NVIDIA is catching a bid. So NVIDIA catching a bid at the 120 level. I went all the way to AMD to see if it was at, 156. It's not quite there. It's getting very, very close to that 156 level. And remember Snowflake? There's 136. We talk about being patient. If you're looking for a gap fill, that is Friday's high. It just wicked it. So you wait, let it fall, let it get there. If the stock is weak, if the market is weak, and you want to go long, then you should wait for the optimal price and see some confirmation. So it just got back up through the 136 level. I'm going to try to get long in here off 136, give it to that local bottom. But wow, now 207 Tesla. Wow. Tesla is off to the races. I told you there's a lot of people that were looking long. I was looking dip by long. It was the breakout that you had to take, or just any long in general.
Yeah, no, that thing is continuing to go. I do have it pulled up here on one of my charts, and you can see that it is distinctly different from the rest of the market. Look at the NQ and the ES pushing for fresh lows, and Tesla keeps bidding back up. Similar kind of story happening here with Nike in terms of the bid, maybe not as aggressive or through some daily or weekly levels like we were pointing out on Tesla, pushing through that 205 level, but that 75 coming in real hot in and around this VWAP area as of right now on Nike. So you can see that 74 halves prior day low held very well, and then we got an aggressive bid into the day's VWAP here. Chewy selling off as well. That the long attempt doesn't really work at that 29. We're going to kind of reassess for that one. What's going on, Adara?
Keep an eye on TEVA here. Teva Pharmaceuticals, this one moving around a little bit here, a little bit after the open. Washington Post reported that the FTC is now opening investigation into the company amid this ongoing patent issues in the pharmaceutical industry. Basically, they're, according to these Washington Post documents, the FTC is accusing Teva of not removing some of its patents on asthma inhalers and COPD devices. So potential patent investigation here for Teva from the FTC is reported by the Washington Post, guys.
Wow, that's not necessarily good news. 120 incoming here on NVIDIA. Oh, Chewy just took 28. Did I get it? Just got into Chewy as well. So 120 is about to break on NVIDIA, just as 28 also went on Chewy. So we took the Chewy short through 28. NVIDIA might break any second now. I've got it up on another level too, as that continues to absolutely flush. So 26, we talk about 25 to 26 as being a potential support, but if it broke down, we had to be willing to take it. I don't want to only be stuck looking for one direction. If it gives it up and goes red on the day, then I should have found some kind of a short. So heading to the downside is Chewy. NVIDIA did make that break. It just got to 50s. Let's see if I did. Yeah, I got a fill at 62s there. So we're just into Chewy. NVIDIA broke down through 120, just got 119, I think 57 I got the fill down there. But we're short at 92s. I wanted to short the pops, but you know, it is what it is. We didn't get anything that high. 123 broke. I didn't get a fill there. Didn't get a fill at VWAP. So we end up having to take a break. You just join the trend where you're able to. But if 120 gets back through, I do want to get out. Look for a retrace into VWAP 121, 121.5, somewhere in that range as NVIDIA continues to flush city. I'm going to only make the assumption, I'm going to be watching NVIDIA, that AMD is also doing what we see over here in NVIDIA. But yeah, it looks like a pullback day for this. 19.9 is gone. Looking for those shorts at this point. I mean, the trend is your friend, and the market is heading into the downside. Let me just double check on Apple. Apple's still looking a little bit strong. Apple holding on to its 1% gain, so that's not all bad. There is something at least trying to hold the market up here. It looks like it's going to be Apple.
Yeah, so yeah, I'm just looking at the tech basket as well. Everything is selling off quite aggressively. AMD, Intel, SMCI, SMH, ARM as well.
It's nice of you to say Intel.
Well, yeah, I guess it's one of the names in my tech basket here. But before that, what's going on, Adara?
Just be aware here of Roku, ROKU. This one was just hit highs of days above that 62 area. Still up about 3.25% on the day. Not seeing any news on this one, but lots of social media attention here for ROKU, and we do have a short float of about 8.2%. So Roku on watch, guys. I
don't trust it. That's all I'm gonna. Social media attention as the market is dumping. Nah, no, I'm not gonna do it. Not going to do it. If it holds, if Roku starts holding, that's one thing. But yeah, I don't know. The market is absolutely flushing. The NASDAQ is now 0.4 to the downside. Just to give you an idea of what's happening, you just broke through not only over Friday support, you've broken through midweek support there, going back into Wednesday at 19.9. So the market is headed down. Bit of a bounce happening over in NVIDIA. In Chewy, in terms of Chewy, it did touch 27.6. I was able to get some out down there. But NVIDIA making an attempt at a bounce back into the 120 level. So this is key. It got to 119, did like a kind of like a false bottom in there, and headed back into 120. So if this is the low, you don't want to get trapped all the way into VWAP. Like, to me, VWAP's its own trade. That's like $1.20 from that 120 level. So if it doesn't curl from here, I'll make another trade at VWAP. Just got to make sure that we're respecting our levels. Tesla, I had it at 06. It went to 07.5. That's not a trade. I'm just going to fight for that $1.50. But if it cannot retake 206, even Tesla could end up a short if it cannot hold back above that 206 level. Big level on the daily chart. Want to respect it. So NVIDIA, we're still in that one. Still in GME. Chewy at the bottom. Apple, I'd like to be long, but it didn't do exactly what we wanted. What we wanted was a dip holding 210. Apple instead just broke it out the top. Patience, patience, patience. Didn't have anything right away at the open, but you're still able to find that quick dollar over in NVIDIA. Still able to find Chewy breaking down. Not much doing for me in Tesla because that's where we took that quick hit, trying to short the 206 level. But we're right back to that 06. If it can't beat this and the market's red, not good for Tesla, as strong as it's even been.
Yeah, with the market coming in that hot, again, I'm kind of looking at some of these tech names. I'm like, all right, yeah, I'm missing out on some of the shorts happening there. But again, one of my main focuses on the day being Nike. I'm watching that tape a little bit closer there, and we've been kind of trending up. Market is flushing quite heavily, both the ES and the NQ, and you can see it's kind of holding the bid. 75 has held the bid, and then all of a sudden you keep getting these strong wipes pushing into the ask there, coming all the way back to 76s in and around that same interesting level that we, I guess, had some action last week, and obviously off the morning as well. We sold off quite aggressively off of this 76 level here as well. So I'm kind of just watching, just waiting. There isn't much size that's really pushing into the bid here, and then all of a sudden we keep getting flurries that tick up into 70 towards 76 as the market flushes dunks quite aggressively. So that SSR mechanic definitely showing itself a little bit here on Nike. And then Chewy as well. Chewy kind of fading off below that 28 level, so losing a lot of that push that it did have in the pre-market there on the Roaring Kitty tweet. So again, maybe potential for the backside there, but I think that I do have to
did more than
focus.
tweet.
Well, I guess he did a little bit more than tweet.
I mean, it's one thing when you tweet a random picture of it was a dog or whatever the heck he tweeted, but when you just go out and own 6.6% of the company,
Yeah.
that's called putting your money where your mouth is. Oh, is it his money? You know what? I don't want to get tinfoil hat, but there's a few people out there that don't think it's his money. But until proven otherwise, it is what it is. And we did say you've got to be mentally agile. Did I want Chewy to break out 33? Better believe I did. We said it before, we'd rather be trading a squeeze stock to the long when it's breaking and just going all that stuff like the apes. Yeah, let's go. It's more fun to do. You get halts, all that kind of stuff. And sometimes you just got to be willing to join. Short, we probably should have had the first breakdown, but hindsight's going to be 2020 when it took out, when it made that second break. It's like, how many times are you going to let this break into the bottom and you're not going to grab it? So we are short. 27.85 is the actual price. I got a couple of fills in there. If it loses 27, 26 is a pretty obvious bottom spot that we can try to take. Let's see what's happening. Apple now starting to calm down a little bit. Nike ripping. I just saw in the chat there.
Yeah,
Who said Nike?
bit.
Oh, whoa, hey, Nike is going. I guess that's the SSR bounce on Nike. Shoot, this is at 76 level.
Yeah.
As if we don't have, okay, well, I mean, it is what it is. 76 was the place to be short on Friday. This would be the spot. This is the spot. So if we fail this, I guess I'm going for the short. Wow, that's a heck of a bounce. That's what an SSR bounce should look like.
Yeah, that's
not the
really
nonsense ones that we tried on Friday. This is what an SSR bounce you ideally want to have happen. Not mad, but probably missed this one. If we turn here on Nike, yeah, day 2 Nike play, 76.15. That's a local high. I think it's probably worth it to the quarters. I'd just like to see some sellers jump in on the tape before I just sit in front of this moving freight train.
Yeah, I might be sitting in front of that train right now at that 76 there. But again, I was watching it all the way up and kind of watching it in and around the 76. Like I said, I was waiting for that 76 to come in.
Oh yeah, you can't punch short.
Yeah, exactly. You can't punch short. You have to wait for the bid. You have to wait for the pop to come and get you. And it seems like, again, 76 might be having a little bit of trouble right now. But interesting action nonetheless here on Tesla there, Neil. Look at that. Flushes all the way down right into VWAP 204s and then it rips right back up as if nothing happened back to 207s. That's absolutely wild. Some crazy price action nonetheless. Let's go down to a 1 minute right there. So yeah, kind of interesting there that it would wipe all the way down and the buying pressure is such that we kind of pull right back in. So maybe showing some strength there on the day. Let's take a quick look at a higher time frame here to point out some of those levels that we were looking for the breakout to come in off of on Tesla here. So let's go down. Let's go up to an hourly here. Let's get some of these other lines out of the way. And yeah, this was the area right here, 206s, and then looking back at it, this is an earnings reference price up here at 212. So about 6 points away from this price here is where this selling kind of started off getting a little aggressive on the earnings that came out in January.
Starting
here.
to go.
So what's starting to go?
Nike. VWAP.
Oh boy.
VWeezy.
Yeah. But you said it's starting to go the other way. I'm like, hey, I'm short right now. I'm not looking at the tape.
Oh, we don't want that.
Yeah, no.
We don't want that.
Let's see.
We'll see what happens. NVIDIA, by the way, NVIDIA came back through that 120. We said we got that first move down in 120 to 119. We'd get out if it went back through 120. So take your stop. You want it to be the home run, but you can always wait for the next chance, which I think is VWAP at 121. As long as we're under 123 bucks, I'm looking short on NVIDIA. So we'll try to keep it simple there, but we're not at VWAP just yet. Going to play the patience game. Chewy still flushing to the downside, but the newest position was trying to get Nike on the way back. I did try to get a better price, but hey, it's SSR, which means as it was coming down through that wick at the high, you're just trying to get short. You can't actually hit the bid without an uptick. So I didn't even get in till 94. on the way back in. I just tagged 75.5, so we'll ring the old register down there. That one looking pretty solid. I didn't want to forget all about Apple, and then what ended up happening is I actually forgot about Apple. So, you know, best laid plans and all. Apple, if you look at that big dump, we were anticipating it would dump right into 210 and then rally, but it pulls back. Look at before the imbalances came out, 212, 212 quarter. That's exactly where this is bouncing from. So Apple is the thing trying to hold up the markets. Nike, we want you to flush. And Chewy, you can go to the gates of hell. I guess nobody cares. They don't care that he owns 6.6%. It doesn't matter, as The Rock would say. If we get to 26, I'm gone. So we're holding down for that bid. If we get back up through 27, we probably trail it at this point. So Chewy a buck in the money. We did have that NVIDIA trade and looking for that retrace into VWAP. And one last one for you, Mulligan. We don't get a mulligan on that Tesla long. I just typed mulligan instead of shop because I was saying your name. Shopify getting trounced as well. We always try to point out relative strength and weakness. This deserves watching. Not looking good for Shopify, down 4.5%, and right on the cusp of support here at 63. That's a big, big level. Let's go to Adara.
Just got a whole bunch of ISM manufacturing data here. My ISM manufacturing PMI coming in here at 48.5, so this is going to be below the consensus of 49.1 and the forecast of 50. ISM manufacturing employment, 49.3, below the consensus of 50, forecast of 51. ISM manufacturing new orders, this one at 49.3. This is actually higher here than the consensus of 49 and the forecast of 46. ISM manufacturing prices, 52.1. This one below the consensus of 55.9 and the forecast of 56. Last but not least, we also have construction spending month over month coming in here, negative 0.1%. So this is going to be below the consensus of forecast of positive 0.1% and the previous print of 0.3% here. SPY continuing to move up a little bit as we get this number here back towards the top of that previous range here around 545. We did some comments from Fed's Williams coming in this morning saying that they're confident that we can get inflation back to 2%. So just some kind of echoing the comments we've seen so far. Of course, we do have some weakness in chips, but quite a few interesting moves to talk about here. Meme stocks on watch, as well as Tesla here at highs of days. Up 5% here, despite getting an underweight rating here from Wells Fargo and a 120 price target maintained. They actually added Tesla with this rating to its tactical ideas list, saying it's a growth stock without growth. So bit of a negative note, but nice move up here for Tesla. We also have here some of these big banks on watch up more than 1% on pretty good volume, including JP Morgan here, increasing its dividend to $1.25 a share and authorizing a $30 billion buyback program as of Friday after the close. Wells Fargo also raising his dividend, so keep an eye on some of these banks, guys.
Yeah, it's flush city on some things. The market's now catching a bit of a bid here, so I want to put some respect on it. But I did get trailed out on Chewy. It ends up holding this 26. It's not really 26.5. It's like the 3/4. Comes right back up, trails me out. It's making some fresh lows. Chewy just continues to flush. We did say I wasn't putting it in the gates of hell, but we were willing to be mentally agile with this, and it was pretty simple. Like if it broke up, I wanted to look for longs in that consolidation and ended up losing it, so you look for the break into the downside. Just be willing to join the trend. The trend is your friend. Last I checked, Tesla is Tesla's gone. Tesla's gone. 209, and still champion of the morning is Tesla. So it's at 209. Thank goodness we got away from that short. You got to have a level. You got to have an entry point. NVIDIA decided that instead of doing like the over-under game at VWAP, it was just going to literally tag it on my chart and then dump. When does NVIDIA actually do this? Like this is VWAP on my chart. It goes literally to VWAP and then goes. Usually I'm expecting a push up. You know, it'll go up like 20, 30 cents. You got to work into it. No, it just goes to the line and then turns. That's not usually how it goes. So I'm going to be patient. I thought we were getting back in with some overfills. If it pushes back to the upside, we might try it. But suddenly you're getting some higher lows. I am still in Nike, but we had to give up GameStop. We shorted a couple of times underneath this at 23.20. We're getting profits at the 23, but higher lows into a flat top means I get out. Chewy working the whole way. You're actually getting a potential breakout here on GameStop. Not yet, but I'm not willing to give back the profits we made this morning being stubborn about something which is trending in the direction opposite to what I was looking at.
Yeah, I definitely have Tesla on watch, going ludicrous off the launch, off the open here on Tesla, 200 all the way to 208s. That's definitely a little bit of yeah, exactly. I gotta call it ludicrous. That's not even sports mode right there. It's breaking out quite aggressively. So now I do have eyes on it. It's not doing that much relative volume, and it's got a lot of I guess support and resistance places if you do look a little left here. So let's take a quick look there. I am watching Nike here. Nike coming right back up into 76s. The market is taking a little bit of a bounce here after the strong flush on the open there. That 76 is going to stay a little interesting for me. But yeah, it seems like Chewy short side was the trade today, and a little bit of Tesla long as well. So let's go straight to the daily here on Tesla. You can see a bit of a gap fill here that it's doing as of right now. We were talking about that strong flush off of prior earnings happening here in January, and then we've pretty much filled a good chunk of that gap right there, pushing into 208s, 210s there on Tesla. The high of this consolidation, 217. I don't know if we can get there today. That's about 10 points away on this ticker here. But again, breaking out of multi-day and multi-month even highs past that 205, 206 mark on Tesla. So let's see if this one has a little bit of relief there, or do we just keep on going to the upside? The volume is dropping down. I'm keeping an eye on that. VWAP is down at 204s. The first test at VWAP has shown that VWAP was aggressively bought right back up, right underneath that 205, happening here at 204.18s on the flush down that we had. So we are getting a little extended past that VWAP. Let's see what we do with these 208s. This is that prior kind of gap fill / resistance area here, just underneath, shy of that 210 mark. So I'll be looking for a potential reversion, maybe back down into VWAP as this craziness kind of starts to settle down. If we hold some of those levels, then I will definitely be wrong on that one. 76 area kind of holding as of right now here on Nike. So I do want to be a little patient here and stay nimble on the trade, maybe even get better prices if we're going to continue to push right back up, because the SSR, this is day 2 and day 1 sold off quite aggressively, all the way from 80s down to a low of 74 and change on Nike. So let's see if there's more of that sentiment kind of coming in today on Nike. That 76 might stay a little interesting. That 20,000 churn on the NQ is something I'm watching as well. But before that, we're going to go to Dara at the big desk.
Keep an eye on Eli Lilly here, LLY. This company, Radionetics Oncology, entering the strategic agreement with Eli Lilly. Basically, the company will receive a $140 million upfront payment, but Eli Lilly now has the rights to acquire Radionetics for $1 billion. So possible acquisition news and deal here for LLY, guys.
All right, watch out there. I mean, it looks like it might retest that 900 level on Eli Lilly, because when you get the acquirer going to the downside, I generally look for some support, and that could be coming into play when I look at that chart. NVIDIA's at VWAP. It's doing a bit of a dance here, but holding. The bid is starting to win at 121 on NVIDIA. So that's, if you're looking for a short off VWAP, the idea would be it kind of comes into there, traps some longs, fails back underneath 121, just not really happening yet. I still believe in the fact that this 123 broke underneath that price. I want to be overall weak. We're not getting anything else in Nike. Let me just quickly go back to Nike. We're not getting anything up at that 76 level. It's popping and putting in lower highs. So Nike hasn't broken VWAP yet, but it is putting in lower highs off that 76. And you can forget about Chewy. I saw someone in the chat say, why is Chewy still falling? Or why is it falling? It doesn't really matter. Look, it's not. There's a difference between Warren Buffett buying a stake in something and Roaring Kitty buying a stake in something. It doesn't have to go up. Just because you want a stock to squeeze doesn't mean it's going to. 25.5 was Friday's low. I think maybe that could be a spot that you look for a bounce play. I'm not long it. I haven't really looked to go long. I thought it would be a breakout play if we went long. But this is a pretty significant area it's getting down into in that 25. So we just got to start looking for that next trade. And it might actually end up being a long at the absolute bottom on Chewy. At least you hope it's the bottom when it gets down there. Robinhood had that. A lot of people complained they couldn't use Robinhood. And I know they had a service interruption. I think I just heard that it might be resolved, and it's not really doing much. So the fact that it wouldn't go down much on that, this is still in the midst of a potential breakout on Robinhood. It's not really there just yet, but didn't really fall all that far. Still could try to make this break and then rally into the 24 level. So Nike working to the downside. NVIDIA is still deciding what to do next at 121. Like to see it show a little more weakness before I jump in. It's starting to come in here. So we might try that second short here in NVDA. Be careful with this, because if NVIDIA holds VWAP, you could be back at 123 right quick. Anytime I get in, stop it right out underneath that local high. That's my play.
All right, so finally another ticker that's perked my interest here. Again, Tesla is making some fresh highs. 208.98 is the high of day right now, attempting to push a little bit more. And I pulled up Uber. Uber sold off quite aggressively off of the open there, and now starting to catch a little bit of a bid here. Let's see if we can get some distinctly different action coming in on the tape here. Sold off aggressively, 73s trading in the pre-market. We're trading at 70s as of right now. So the first question I want to ask is, what is Uber's ATR? We can quickly check that out right here. It's about 2 points here, and Uber is doing what kind of R-vol, you may ask. Here, let's take a quick look at Uber. And the R-vol happening on, I guess, a 3-minute chart.
About that sauce.
Sorry, what's up?
You say Uber, I started thinking about that St. Hubert sauce. It's so much better than Swiss Chalet. That stuff. Trust me. If you had to be a Canada to know St. Hubert's, but like their sauce was out of control. You can only get it in Quebec now, it makes me sad. I used to go there all the time as a kid. Sorry to interrupt.
No.
You say that, and
you said sauce, and I was interested. I was like, all right, cool.
Now I'm already hungry.
Yeah, right. Yeah, we're going to be watching Uber on top of the 70 here. Let's take a quick look at the chart as well together, and maybe we can find some levels of interest here. Nike coming right back up, holding some of these VWAP levels here, just above that 75.30s there. But before we take a look at Uber, we're going to pass it back to Dara at the big desk.
We're even hanging out here near day's highs, up about 5% near that $14 area, getting a series of price target increases this morning. This Goldman Sachs one just came through, $14 price target increase. RBC Capital Markets also increasing their price target to 14, same as Barclays. And Canaccord Genuity actually raising the price target of Rivian from $20 to $30. So RIVN getting a nice move up here on not one but 4 price target increases throughout the morning, guys.
So what do we do for AMD here? There's this. I mean, that's the overall market.
Yeah.
There's also, let me try this one. Look at that bear. Why am I dressed that doesn't even make any sense. Although I don't know what you're supposed to wear when you ride a bear. Realistically, you guys, I don't look like Paul Bunyan, Fabian. Paul Bunyan. Paul Bunyan, I mean, come on, he's got the axe, he's got the overall, he's got the flannel, whatever. It is what it is, but the market is heading back into the downside.
Oh, yeah.
We just waited for confirmation on NVIDIA at that 121. You get it. There's that move into VWAP. There's your wick. There's your push back down. Now if we get above 20s again, I don't want this thing getting anywhere near 120, 120. We get to 120, 120 again, and you just got to dump out. We already get that quick buck. We scalp some out. I'm anticipating, when I look at the market making fresh lows, AMD making fresh lows, and NVIDIA trying to put in a higher low, I'm not completely convinced it's the one anymore. So if we can't get through the 120 level, I might just have to dump it at that price. We'll see what we can get down there at 120. Nike did not give us any fills back into 76. You couldn't even, I don't know if you got any.
I got a little bit more.
Yeah, you got some.
Not enough.
Yeah, I didn't get anything on Nike on that little bit of a push back to the upside. Did want to re-short it at 76. But sometimes when it's SSR, you just got to take it. I'm sitting right here. I'm at 92. It went to 88 and 89. Looks like those highs. So missed opportunity. That was a pretty tight reload if you could get it. Lower highs, right back into VWAP.
What I'm noticing is that if you do kind of sit there and I guess, yeah, you have to post. It has to come and get you. But if you do kind of frex into it on the jitter, it'll come grab you on the up bid, even though your frex limit is much lower than what the price is sitting.
Just for anyone watching, Frex is a gateway in an order type that we can use here at Real Trading. Not all platforms are going to have it. I would suspect probably a lot don't, but we can trade pretty much every single gateway out there in the market we have access to be able to trade. So if you hear us say one in particular, it's just one to get a fill. Yep. Sometimes when it's up there and you're missing by 3 or 4 cents, it matters. Like, I want to know, like, we got a fill up there, I didn't get a fill. I want to know what he used so that next time I actually get short, because it's instantly in the money, 30, 40 cents. Quick trade there. The market's still head to the downside. We did say you had to look for some short opportunities because we're going flushing. We're going flushing through the quad, everybody.
Nice. Yeah, no, if you cross on some other gates, sometimes it might just reject you because it is SSR. So yeah, definitely agree with that. Got to have multiple gates in your arsenal to kind of exercise the ideas that you may have with different sense of urgency there, right? Look at that. Both the ES and the NQ strong flushes off of this, referencing some of this price action off the open there. And yeah, we're getting some strong sells across the board as well. So looking right back at it, SPY has broken prior day's low as of right now. The prior day low was 542.95, and we are trading at 542.80s as of right now on the spider. So
oh my God,
you can see that low break as well happening here on the ES. So we are taking quite a nice little sell-off here to begin the week off of the open there. Alphabet to the downside. Why do I have 2 alphabets? One of them supposed to be Apple. Apple actually to the upside there. Kind of okay. We talked about that strong sell-off that Apple had at the end of day, and it pretty much wiped that whole move right off of the open. And that's something we kind of mentioned as well this morning. So let's pull that ticker up here and talk about that. So Apple, you know that Friday was one of the rebalancing days that we had there. Russell imbalance nonetheless, and you can see that Apple had quite a significant sell-off going into the close there. But coming into the open today, we held some of those reference low prices and then wipes right back in off of the opening candle as well, right into 214s, 213s, and kind of I guess evens out that sell at the close right at the open there, now kind of chopping sideways. Let's see if the NQ and the ES can catch a bit of a bounce here. NVIDIA still in and around that 120 mark, so that 120 holding quite well. Day low at 118.83s. And yeah, Apple, that reference price again, I'm gonna mention it again, 213.60s-ish are the prices that we're trading before the strong flush off of the open there. And Apple is just trading in and around some of those levels as well. So softy holding underneath that 450 pre-market consolidation highs, just shy of 450, coming in at 459.50s on softy. So going to be watching that. SPY is my compass, is something that I like to remind myself of more often than not. And the spider catching a little bit of a bounce again. 5,500, only about 5 points away from that is where we're catching a bounce off of. And here comes Nike right back down into VWAP there. And question I'm asking myself, why don't I have even more at 76? Like the ticker has spoken to you. Last week, I thought I was listening, but again, 76 had a bit of a reserve.
Dump that stock.
A lot of volume getting churned, and coming in today, we're having a little bit of trouble. Sure, we can kind of continue past this level going forward. The day is still young, but a little bit of chop and churn and some trouble happening on 76 when it comes to Nike as of right now. Here comes a bounce on both the ES and the NQ, and there goes softy for high a day. There, pre-market consolidation highs. We were just talking about those 49.5s coming right in on softy, and there goes Apple as well, testing its highs. So let's take a quick look at softy and show you guys what I'm talking about. Look at that barcoding action in the pre-market, a distinct high there at 49.5s, and as of right now, we are breaking it. And softy took quite a bit of a flush off of the imbalances coming in at the end of the day as well. 452s all the way down to 447s going into the close, and it seems like we are attempting to push back towards the highs there on some of those prices. I still got Uber on watch. Uber holding 70.
This bounce is getting big. I'm happy we just got out, and we'll power up NVIDIA. Look, the VWAP trade, it came, it went, it didn't hold 120. Sorry, it didn't hold underneath 120. It did hold 120. We waited for that short. We talk about the front end and the back end. This is what I mean. This is the kind of execution, if you're shorting something on the way up, that I prefer. Show you that top. You like the VWAP short, take it there. But once it held 120, I was right out. So it's like pretty much exactly $1. It was like 99 cents or something like that. Do not know that I want to go back to this well with the market bouncing the way that it is. Maybe we're going to hold underneath. I'll wait for a little more confirmation. Nike might give us that fill as well. We want to be patient with this level on Nike. Oh, maybe we should just grab out of VWAP the next time. Yeah, Nike's holding on to VWAP. This might just be a 76 to VWAP, and then if it breaks VWAP, just take another short somewhere else. And look at Chewy. I guess we should have held Chewy all the way down to $25.50, now down 4%. Purring Kitty is not happy with this at all. $25.50 was Friday's low. Said we'd take a shot at this bottom. Well, if it can put a higher low in here off this 25.5, I guess we'll go into the long on Chewy. Yikes. What goes up must come down, but not me, clown. Let's go to the small cap recap with Adair. Bye-bye.
IWM trying to bounce off low of days here, currently down about 0.75 here. So a bit of weakness, trying to hold on to that 201 area right now for the Russell 2000. Quite a few small caps moving today. We have names like Dataseed, DTSS, POET, Poet also just started moving here as well. But we have Pitney Bowes. This one here, PBI, up about 11%. We got a 6.7% short float, just under $1 billion market cap, providing an update on their accelerated progress of their cost rationalization program, raising its savings target to 120 to 160 million, up from its previous range of 60 to 100 million. So good look here for PBI near highs of day here. We also have SentiBio, SNTI. This one is a penny stock here. This one was up over 100%, now up about 80+%. Getting $8 million from the California Institute for Regenerative Medicine to support the development of one of its treatments. For context, this one has a market cap of about $12 million, so nice look for SNTI. Last but not least, Babcock and Wilcox. BW here, this one up about 25%, announcing that we'll be selling its Denmark-based renewable parts and services subsidiary for about $87 million in cash, and reiterating its fiscal year 2024 EBITDA target. So good look here for BW. Quite a few small caps on the move to start the week, guys.
Yeah, lots in the news for sure. Like, it's one of those mornings, man. You can think it's going to be in and out and Chewy and all that stuff, and that's going to go wild, but it's not. It's still holding that bottom. It's holding on to 26 very, very tightly here. So if it retests the bottom, I guess I'd wait for a 25.50 bounce. I wanted to see it hold a higher low. Guess what's not happening? It's not holding a higher low. I'll spoil it for you. The name that, look, NVIDIA was a good short. AMD would have been a great short. And sometimes, look, when you're up in the morning and it's been good and you've had winning trades, it doesn't prevent you from trying to understand what you could have done better. So suffice to say, you guys can see the 163 level, and that's been a big level on AMD for a while, and look at what happens when it cannot break it all pre-market and then breaks the bottom. There's always something better. There's always a way to get better. There's always something you can improve. No such thing as a perfect trading day. No such thing as being perfect at just about anything. AMD should have been the one. I focused on NVIDIA, but in hindsight, look at the pattern on this chart. I think we should all look at this and ask ourselves, look at that top. Same top, 168. Same lower high, 163. And it doesn't even hold 156. In fact, you could have reloaded a short underneath 156, right down into this 153 bottom. Sometimes it's not that difficult, but you've got to look, you've got to do the work, you got to put on these charts, and you got to look for it. Look, obviously Nike's going to be a good short. Chewy was a good short. Congratulations to anyone long Tesla, but I got to think about this AMD and why we weren't in that one. But you got to move on to the next trade.
On to the next.
I could be looking for some kind of a long in Apple. It didn't quite go according to plan for Apple. I thought we'd dip and rip. That's what happened the last time there was a sell-off at the close. Look, dip and a huge rally. Today it just did the rally part and not the dip part. unfortunately for me. So I was looking for a 210. I was all locked and loaded to punch long. If it tried to run those lows, it never did. And now we're just at highs. Up 2% into a market that's only now turning green. This and Tesla are the only longs. I shouldn't say that. You know, those are the longs I'm looking at right now on any kind of a pullback. Nice breakout. It's been a good morning shorting, but now we got to look for that long trade. And Sebastian, appreciate it. Good to see you being critical after 20 years. Still, you have to be. There is no other way to get better than examining the things that you could have done better.
Yes.
It's just that simple. You know, like in baseball, you hit a pitch on the screws and you knock it out of the ballpark. You got to look at, okay, were my mechanics right, like all that good stuff. How's the pitcher going to tax me in the next at bat? It doesn't really matter. You just got to look forward. And forward is Apple being ridiculously strong here. We'll check back in on Chewy only because it might make that bottom, but that's a very different trade. There's catching a falling knife and trying to get a dead cat rally, and there's trying to join a trend in Apple. Those are two very, very different things, and Apple needs to give me some kind of consolidation pullback. Whereas Chewy, there's your bottom. Once it gives me a good risk to reward, I'm just going to go for that lower high, which it's trying to do now.
Yeah, so I guess wiping right back on both the ES and the NQ here, we were talking about quite a strong flush. And look at the NQ kind of coming right back into some of these pre-market levels, 19.9. Keep talking about this 20 thou being a little bit of a magnet, and it seems like whenever we accelerate a little too far away from it over the past couple of weeks, we kind of run right back into it as well. So quite a nice little reversal potentially happening there. Again, Softy's pushing, continues to push towards highs, and then that little dip had no real effect on, I guess, either Apple or Softy, as with that strength coming back, they are pushing for fresh highs on the day there. Spider kind of recovering a good chunk, a good portion of that flush down. A similar kind of thing going on with NVIDIA and Amazon. Amazon pushing for days highs as well. NVIDIA not quite there yet, still trading at 2160s as of right now. And yeah, Nike still holding this VWAP quite aggressively. So I'm kind of keeping that in mind there. If VWAP is holding, I guess, holding the bid, I do want to stay a little bit nimble there, but with the market pushing up quite aggressively, I want to keep that in mind as well. Uber holding on to this 70 as of right now. What's going on, Adara?
Keep an eye on some of these social media related stocks right now. I have Meta up here, META, but there's also Snap Inc., any company like that. Basically what happened here is we did have the Supreme Court issuing its but a bit more of a mixed decision on the social media laws in Texas and Florida. These laws are a little bit controversial because they were considered curbing these companies' abilities to make their own decisions, basically saying that there should be basically banning companies from banning certain users. But this law has been sent back to the lower courts to look at. So basically whether or not these laws are unfairly restrictive to social media. These social media companies has now been sent back to the lower courts. So keep an eye on some of these social media related stocks with that ruling in mind, guys.
Yeah, oh my, like Meta is another example. We hit the flat bottom break graphic for NVIDIA 123. There's a lot of things you could have applied it to, certainly. It's not a clean flat bottom break at 504. It's close enough, but support just getting taken out right into these 490s. So if you're looking for a place where Meta might catch a bid, it's actually going now like a couple of bucks, but that would have been the spot. Like sometimes it shows you the level. If you're trying to catch that falling knife, just wait. Let it get to a significant level, and that's what matters. NVIDIA is still trying to go to the upside here. So here's the 122. If this can get above, 123, if this gets back above it, it's going to be wild. I keep hearing in the back, Wrangel's like, break it.
Definitely
and
Tesla.
I'm looking at NVIDIA, but it's not NVIDIA he's talking about. It's got to be Tesla and 210. This is 209.99 on Tesla. I have no idea if that's what he's talking about, but look at Tesla, 209.99. It's trying to break the level. I always feel like there's like 206. I was short, and it should have been a long when it did this at VWAP. Look what it does at VWAP. Look at that hammer candle right to the downside that bounces clean off VWAP. When it takes 06 a second time, if you think it's a short before and it's a strong stock, look what happens if you go long that second time. But 210 is what it is. It's a big level. It's up 6%. It's the strongest thing in this market. If it goes, you just got to have it.
Oh, yeah. It's again, this strength coming right back in. I'm looking for places to kind of exercise that. There comes that 210. I guess 210 is printing as of right now on the NVIDIA, or sorry, not on the NVIDIA, on the Tesla there. And a strong push right back into the bid happening there on Nike. I was watching this, I'm like, all right, well, we're kind of holding, we're kind of pushing back towards that 76. What do we do in and around here? I got stopped out of the Uber. Uber attempted a little bit of a long there on top of 70 hold, but again, the trend is to the downside there. We want to keep it pretty tight unless and until it actually tries to significantly turn. Made a little bit of an attempt, but doesn't work. That's perfectly fine. Was again something I'm kind of trying to deploy in terms of strategy in my trading is easing into the trade, right? Getting in just a small portion of what I want my total size to be, and kind of waiting for it to really show itself and show the confirmation, show the confluence to really push into the full size. So therefore, if it doesn't work right off the bat, then not taking as significant of a downside with the move if it kind of continues there. There it goes, breaking below that 70 mark there, trading at 80s as of right now. So very, very strong trend to the downside here on Uber, getting sold off quite aggressively, holding the moving averages on multiple frames there. I'm looking at the 5-minute, the 3-minute, the 15-minute as well. We are pushing for some of these weekly lows. The next level I see here is 69.60s, only trading about 20 pennies away from that here in the 80s here on Uber. So interesting look. Let's see if it can kind of curl back up at any point today and break this trend. If not, that's perfectly fine as well. I will kind of be patient and wait for that to kind of come in there. What's going on with crypto, Darren?
Interesting report here coming from this crypto research firm called CHWY. Apparently, Bitcoin, which is normally known for having a little bit more volatility in trading on the weekends because it can trade 7 days a week, has now hit all-time lows for the proportion of Bitcoin trading happening in the weekend, hitting 16% this year compared to its all-time high of 28% in 2019. So basically what that's saying is there's less crypto being traded in the weekends than we normally see so far in 2024. So kind of interesting report there. In terms of Bitcoin itself here, this is the 15-minute chart. We are continuing. We did actually hit a 1-week high here above that 63,000 area. Now coming back below, currently sitting around 62.7 for BTC, up about 2% on the day. Ethereum also doing well, up about 2%, holding on to that 3,400 level pretty nicely. A lot of strength pretty much across the board here for these crypto-related names. Solana up well over 3%, continuing a nice little stream to the upside for that one, near 150. We also have Ripple up 1.6%, Cardano up almost 4%, Avalanche up almost 6%. So generally a pretty nice day across the board for these crypto-related names, guys.
Thank you very much. Tesla broke 210, got to 210.50 exactly. So I got 13s long, little bit of slippage, not terrible, but not the best either. If we can hold on to this 210 level, I mean, Tesla is just, it's a rocket ship, but if it doesn't hold 210, the trend line, if I were to draw, it's down around 209, maybe 208.5. So I would look for a dip buy a little bit deeper. We'll try to scalp that dollar. I just want to quickly get to DJT because I know a lot of people mention this. Supreme Court partially backed Trump on immunity is the headline. Thank you, Brendo, for that one. So as Tesla goes, this DJT off the bottom, 31 and 34. This was dying this morning and now flying to the upside. Needs to show some continuation, though. Friday was a bad day for the stock. 35, the big key level. If it gets through 35, I think it could really go squeezing, but that was the key pivot point. So a bit of a rally here in DJT. Nike short continues to work as you can sort of see Obi and I are both in that position. And Tesla, you know what? You can be late to the party, but as long as you show up, that's what matters. You know what? It's like Keanu Reeves says in one of my favorite baseball movies. Sometimes you just got to show up. It's all about showing up. And if you know what that reference is, Obi, great. I'm expecting you don't, but the chat's probably going to let you know. And it is another movie that you do need to watch. I'm just throwing it out.
Okay. I think when you say baseball movie, there's one that kind of comes to mind, and I think it is pretty awesome when it comes to I guess baseball movies. Moneyball.
That was not what I was referring to, but it is a good movie.
Yeah,
It's a good
no,
book.
I know Keanu Reeves isn't in that movie.
Hardball.
Is it Hardball? Okay,
Yeah,
I haven't seen that one.
G Money in there. I love it when you call me Big Papa. Just trust me, it's one of those films, like it gets you. It's kind of weird, like, imagine if they did Mighty Ducks, but with baseball.
Okay.
That's, I mean, kind of, actually, more I think about it.
I remember watching Mighty Ducks.
Yo, they
Wow.
straight up stole. It's literally Mighty. Come on, son.
Really?
I actually am just making this realization. It is Mighty Ducks with baseball, but it is a very good movie. So 211 on Tesla going. We just made a baseball reference. So like Vladdy, it's on fire. We probably should have been long earlier, but it is what it is. We weren't. 210 is gone. 211 is gone. If you're looking at the daily chart, what do we got here? I don't know. I mean, what levels are you going to find? $220? That's a level. You know what else is a level? It's not going to go there. I'm saying, look, it's absolutely not going to go there. But this trend on Tesla, we're going to get there eventually. I don't know when. I don't know if I'll be there with you. But 228, 230.
Yes, sir.
The way I see it, when you hit the bottom of the trend line, which it only tagged it once, twice, thrice, each time it tagged it, it got to the top of the trend. This is not real, that wick. So I would suspect we're going to see we're not getting there today, but that's what I'm looking for. So Tesla, absolute home run. We wanted dip and rip. We didn't get the dip, so we had to take a break. It is what it is. And Nike following through. I'm glad you got that reload. I most certainly did not. Why is this still Tesla? But there is the bust through VWAP. I got to look for another re-entry into Nike. We got the one short into the high, and then I just didn't get any shares in there when I was trying to grab 76s. So we're going to see this break into the downside. Rock, I threw a little MLK in there. Why not? Yeah, I'm having some fun, man. It's been a good morning so far, but we got to look for what is next. It possibly could be a first entry into AMD. I know I was shorting NVIDIA a couple of times, but NVIDIA looks a little stronger than AMD. I don't know if you can tell.
Yeah, I'm kind of. I guess definitely could have gone a little bit more there on the 76, but that's fine. No regrets. If it came in off of the open there, and I gotta do better. The chart is like on a multi-day frame. It's showing you what 76 is capable of, right? So what do I need to do better at? When that price comes right in off of the open and rejects like it did at 76s, can't really get back through on a strong bid all the way up from 74 halves. Now again, something to remember is the ATR that Nike has. So what is the ATR on Nike, you might be asking, is about 3 points, the 14-day ATR. So it does, not all the ATR, but it goes 7 4/2 to 7 6s, printing almost above 60% of its ATR on some strength on an SSR, and fails to follow through at the same place where it failed to follow through coming in on Friday. You can see, yeah, like last week right here. So I got a little carried away at that 76 level, thinking that reserve might be the point at which we turn and push back off. But look at that. Those pushes held no real strength as it kind of claimed that overall downtrend. And look at this bid here. The only kind of relief that we had all day comes down from 47.70s all the way up to 46s. And I was talking to Neil about this, and I was like, yeah, doesn't even print 76s. 75.99s are the highs of these candles here, and then it flushes back into the going into the close, and then coming in today. Look at that, opens, pops above 76, gets slammed right back in. Bids aggressively 74 halves, almost looking like a lick grab of prior day's lows, right back into 76s. And what happens there? Kind of chops and churns around VWAP, looks like it's holding, and then selling kind of comes back in. I didn't know that it was going to come back in, but what it's showing us is that 76 is a place of interest, potentially a place to make some decisions and definitely watch the tape at. So if and when that kind of confluence happens over a multi-day frame, I got to do better at getting involved and getting aggressive along with that kind of price action showing itself. Kind of, I guess, maybe some bigger players showing their hand as well is how I like to take a look at it. About 300 lots on multiple gates at 75. We're right back at 75. Once again, I gotta size up on this stuff, man. This is absolutely crazy how often this kind of comes into play, and I'm not I don't have the size that I really want. And again, it goes back to kind of planning out. Poor planning on my part.
Yeah, you got to blue chew that trade, bro.
Sorry, what? I gotta blue chew that trade?
Who said that?
What do you mean?
Who said that? I didn't say that.
Yeah, Nike
That was
coming right
Sharif
back
said
in.
that?
Sharif, I think Sharif might have said that.
Oh yeah,
I don't
maybe.
know.
I don't know.
He's like, what'd I say? But yeah, no, coming right back in, and it's not really, I guess, it's not really looking so great for the longs. We kind of talk about why, in terms of bigger picture on the longer time frame, we are breaking multi-time frame levels, and we only sold off through them for 1 day. Now, these levels have not really come in since 2021. Like the COVID lows is what we were talking about on Nike, happening in and around the 70s, the low 70s, right? So maybe we make it there, maybe we don't. But as of right now, we are making some, we're doing some selling off of that 76 level there. Chewy can't stop, won't stop, continuing to flush towards the downside there. What's going on?
It's caught a bid.
It's caught a bid.
Remember we said if a stock is tanking or ripping, it doesn't really matter.
Sorry, not Chewy, I meant Uber.
Oh, you meant Uber. Okay,
I meant
well,
Uber, sorry.
Okay, well, I'm going to Chewy anyways. Chewy got to Friday's bottom. See, there's Friday's low. As I zoom it back in, you can look at the candle. You just look for the spot. There's the volume spike. There is the big rejection candle at the bottom. It confirms, it holds 26. The second it holds 26, after that, we get in there. I was able to get a couple times. I got an average price of 4. Let's just leave it at that. Sorry, my last price was 4. My average price was 2.5. But it gets into this resistance and cannot go any further. So there's your 26.40 level on Chewy. We said we'd go dip buy hunting at the 9.5 on Tesla. We're about to get that chance as we go to Adara for Sector Watch. Right?
Easier to start with probably the weakest sectors here because they're pretty clear. We have producer manufacturing and consumer services pretty much right across the board. Retail trade also notably weak in a few places here. Amazon strong, but some weakness in Home Depot, O'Reilly, Lowe's, and Costco. We did get lower than expected ISM manufacturing data pretty much across the board, including ISM manufacturing PMI. So that could be of note here with some of these manufacturing related names, but those sectors generally pretty weak. Health services, process industry is also a bit weaker. Transportation, a bit more neutral with Uber leading the group to the downside. In terms of relative strength, not bad here in communications. We did have an upgrade in AT&T and some of these other names positive as well. Health technology pretty strong here. Merck and Eli Lilly both having some positive news with regards to these deals here. So interesting look for them. Deals with other companies for licensing. Finance as well, JP Morgan and Wells Fargo, these both report in 2 weeks, so the Friday after next. They both raise their dividends on Friday. And of course, with regards to the tech sectors, it's going to be a little bit more mixed. Meta notably to the downside here in technology services here, but Google a little bit more flat on the day, Microsoft slightly positive. Then of course, in electronic technology, a lot of weakness in some of these chip names, notably AMD, but Apple here to the upside. So a bit of a more mixed picture, except for some of these sectors pretty red across the board here, guys.
All right, thank you, Adara. Yeah, some of these sectors definitely moving a little bit differently than each other there. I am kind of watching this Tesla move. Tesla is pulling back quite aggressively off of those highs at those 212s. We attempted to hold a moving average, and then we come right back in quite aggressively, potentially putting players offside, and that's what I'm looking for as well. Let's see if some of this strength off of the open can give us a little bit of a breather here. 206.60s being VWAP there.
There's a trend break.
There is a little bit of a trend break there, so I'm going to be looking for maybe some confluence, some more action to kind of point us in the direction that we're not just messing around and dipping a little aggressively only to bid right back up. So let's see what we do in and around this 210 mark here on Tesla. Like I said, absolutely ludicrous off of the open.
Ludicrous speed for sure. You'll see I'm out of Nike. Nike did like a, what's the word? I can say wick shimmy. That's Sharif's term. I'll steal that one for a second at the 75 level. So look, late in the day, 75 was that higher low. We were trying to short this one. Actually, we were getting some success shorting this one into 75 on Friday afternoon. But the big bounce here, if it can pull it back into VWAP, I think I would look for a VWAP short. That's pretty much where you close. 75.37 was the close price. 75.40 is this local high. So I would love to short back in there. I could always, why am I drawing a line? I could always look for a consolidation at 75 to get back. We just got to look for that next trade. So let's be patient with it. We'll look for the next chance in Nike. It might be short the pop, but I only want to be short this name for now. Tesla could not hold on to that 210, but I'm going to draw let me draw this trend line here. Since it bounced off VWAP, it did break the trend, but then hold on to the 209 level. So this is probably, I should be long at 209, is what it is. But if it holds underneath this, and I'm not talking about the trend since the open. When a stock goes parabolic breaking out at the open, I like to go from the first dip into the next dip when it continues to going higher. So it's pretty clean, those two, and now you have a chance to fail it underneath. So I would think short underneath this level here, which would be 208.80 on Tesla. NVIDIA wasn't quite fast enough. This is a real wick. NVIDIA got right back up to 122.80. 122.80 right in front of that 123, and then it just went to the downside. So we were looking for 123 as a short. I was not quite fast enough. Chewy, we looked for that bottom at 26. We got 26 to 26.40, and then it just came right back underneath 26. So we get a little bit of a scalp trade long. The play has been the short on Chewy. That was a much better one. Find myself not in a position, but we can always be patient. So if Tesla breaks that trend, want to look for the short there. NVIDIA could, oh yeah, here it's coming right back into this 123. NVIDIA is super strong. That might be the wrong one to go short.
Yeah.
Like, look at the difference between NVIDIA and AMD here. I mean, if we pop up, if NVIDIA takes 123, AMD is going to be at the big 156 level and VWAP. I think that's where I should be. Short, weak stocks, long, strong stocks.
Yeah, that's definitely something I'm kind of trying to hone my trading in on. I'm always looking for potential reversions here, and speaking of which, I'm looking at Uber here as well as it attempts to kind of hold some of these levels as of right now, but nothing too distinctly different happening in terms of price action. So I do want to stay a little bit more patient for that to come in there. 69.45s is the day low as of right now, trading at 69.50, so only about 10 pennies away from that as of right now, but no real push coming right back in. Nike is trading below 75. Let's see if we can break prior day's low once again. Current day low, 74.29s, and we're kind of raging right back up or down to that level there on Nike. So I do have that on watch. Let's see what we got in store on that one. Uber selling off quite aggressively, as mentioned earlier. On the day, no real significant news other than the Wells Fargo a couple of days ago maintaining it as an overweight. But we're breaking below some of prior week lows as well. If you look at the prior week low, it's at 69.75, and we're trading in and around some of those levels, having some trouble at the 69.5s as of right now. And Tesla, maybe some consolidation happening at that 210. I am kind of looking to take this one back down into VWAP as well, but I don't know if it's poised just yet. But it does seem like it is broken the trend. We've seen it kind of slow down significantly there, confluencing with the ES and the NQ as well. The strong pop and drop, that strength not really holding up as of right now. And the VWAP I have here on Tesla is down at 206s, so about 3 points away, 206.70s, maybe just shy of 3 points away from where we're trading at right now on Tesla. Let's see what we have in store on that one. Let us know in the chat what else you guys are trading. I know there's a lot of other names on watch, maybe a lot that we're missing as well. So make sure you let us know, and we will take a look at some of those names as well.
I just saw Team PJ saying PayPal's oversold, and Trader Forever says Neil should have trusted his instincts on Roku. I mean, all I said about Roku was I don't believe it. We had this story, and I was like, not buying it, not buying it, not buying it. And yeah, look at that wick top. Just because when I was saying not buying it, that just meant I didn't want to go long. I wasn't predicting it was going to go down. I was more saying I wanted no part of trying to go long into this breakout on Roku. The other side would be, just short it. Obviously, that could be the case. But let's go back to something we could get into. So Nike, it's consolidating under 75. I'm looking up. I might just take it. I got out at 75 on the 76 short. I might just get back in at 75. But Tesla, You just mentioned consolidation, but it's underneath that trend, the early trend on Tesla as far as I'm seeing. So no breakdown just yet through 208.80. I think that would be a place to go short, but back up into this top of the trend line, back into 210, I think is another level to get into. DJT, which just had that Trump news, is trying to make a higher low. It's got a steep trend. I think I would respect this more to the upside for now. Look how clean that is. From here, there it is. Look where it bounced right off 33. I mean, you'd get pretty lucky if it bounces off this trend again. That would be at 33.20. So DJT to the upside, Chewy to the downside, GameStop to the downside. I guess the squeeze name ain't the one that you were expecting this morning, that's for sure.
Yeah, no, definitely not really squeezing as hard on the Chewy there. Pushing fresh lows. So I did get a little involved here once again on the Uber, just to see if it'll kind of continue off of this half hold there. But again, keeping it quite tight there, as it is very strong to the downside. Don't want to fight it too hard. And here comes Tesla. Tesla, a little bit of a pullback as well. So maybe I should move my attention over to that one there. Tesla does not trade on the NY, trades on the DAC there. All right, so 209s as of right now. Yeah, it trades where it wants, clearly. But yeah, let's see if we can kind of consolidate. We're holding above this prior chop here, right on top of that 209. Attempted test at 212 doesn't really come through. 211 halves is high a day, and now we're pushing some fresh lows there. So let's see if we can come down there. 2 points down to VWAP at 206, 206.70s. But before that, we got money talks with Adara.
DXY going red to green here. We still pretty much flat in the day, but we did recover quite impressively. As you can see here in the daily candle, we wicked down into this 105.50 area, now up to 105 high 80s. So nice recovery here for the DXY. A lot of economic data coming through this week, but also just this morning we got quite a few manufacturing-related numbers here. S&P Global manufacturing PMI coming in slightly below estimates, 51.6 versus 51.7 expected. ISM manufacturing PMI also lower than expectations here, 48.5 versus 49.2 expected. And ISM manufacturing prices, 52.1 versus 55.8 expected. We also had the construction spending month-over-month, bit lower here than expectations. We were looking for flat on the month-over-month basis at 0.3%. We actually got negative 0.1%. So a number to note. We have lots of economic data in the way of labor data coming later this week. JOLTS job openings coming tomorrow at 10 a.m. Then on Friday, we get non-farm payrolls. So definitely on watch. Also on watch, though, in the world of economic data and Fed speak is going to be comments from Jerome Powell. Fed Chair Jerome Powell, he's set to speak at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time tomorrow, participating in this policy panel before the European Central Bank. It's part of their central banking forum in 2024. So we'll definitely keep eyes on that with regards to the DXY, guys.
Thank you very much there, Daryl. We'll get to DJT, which is starting to go again. But Tesla, it broke down that consolidation at 208.85. I got it short, got hit right in front of the 50s, and then immediately back to the upside. So that trend line that got broken, we waited for a consolidation break. It's going to retest that high. I think the only other place I'd short it would be right up here at that top. The breakdown, you don't lose because you end up getting out some at break even and then getting some profit in there, but no follow through to VWAP, unfortunately. Speaking of VWAP, DJT, which last I checked is on the NASDAQ, bounces off its trend line to the upside. So we're able to get some 33, 32, just took some out at 60s. If you've been watching, this is not that difficult. If it gets to 34, 34, 20, I'm taking profit through the top. I do still think this has big overhead resistance at the 35 level. It's going to take a lot, like a nice looking trend line, but I think a continuation through the high would be get out at the top, look for the next available dip buy, and join that trend. Ring the register, look for the next trade, and go from there. Nike, we got to get back into. Nike is just, it's a short till it ain't.
What's the next trade? That's what
70,
I'm asking as well.
It's either VWAP or 75. Like either I'm just going to get short at 75, which I think I'm just going to do. If it pops anywhere near to if I can get like 95 to 75 even, I'm just going to short that right back into the 75.10 and just hold it to the low of the day. Nike's in the penalty box right now, and nobody wants to let it out.
Yeah, so I tried to get a better price here on Tesla as it came up to test that 210 mark. Kind of struggling with that 210 a little bit over and over again. Don't have the best price just on top of this 209 here, but we are, again, we did break this, we're starting to break this trend from the morning session quite nicely here. Again, like I said, VWAP being at 206.80, so if we do have a healthy pullback and the bid is kind of going to step off a little bit, let's see if we can come down into that VWAP area on the break of trend, just for a quick reversion back down. But again, if we're looking at trend deceleration as well, you can use speed lines, you can use an array of moving averages or whatnot to kind of give you that direction. But again, if the trend isn't going to fully V-shape on the break of trend, I'm looking for it to slow down at potential other places. Again, same question I'm always asking. If the bid is real and we take a little bit of a pullback, where does it catch? Is it going to give me reasons to buy, reasons to cover as well? Who knows? But Tesla coming right in, 208s testing as of right now, 208. So there was some size at 209s as well. That got taken out on the bid, and now there's some size sitting on top of 208s as well. Let me pull up the ticker here for you guys on the book. I know some of these, some of the charts, some of the books lag behind a little bit there, so you guys can see I do have the size filter on as well. So any sort of size above 100, above 99 lots here, that's what I have that set as. Above 99 lots will show up as highlighted. 208s did have 208s and some change, so in the teens we had some size coming. Some size coming in. There's 130 on the bid. Nothing too crazy, as Tesla will eat that kind of size for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And there it goes, Blake butter right through 208, that size printing 85s right away. So yeah, decent, working out decently as of right now. Let's see if we can pull back down into VWAP there. The last significant bid that I'm seeing here was in and around 206.80s, where we kind of popped up very aggressively off of that again and continued the trend. 206s, 207s all the way for almost another 6 points into a test of 212. So quite aggressive. The longs have definitely been winning on this ticker in the morning session, but as we move in towards that midday session, it seems like maybe hands are changing potentially just a little bit there on Tesla. And again, confluenced with a little bit of market tailwind as well. Look at the ES and the NQ. ES actually pushing for its day lows. So SPY is my compass, as I've said before, probably pushing for its day low as well, as it reflects the ES quite nicely. So here it comes in, 5,500 on the ES, and the NQ retracing about 50% of this strong move, the reclaim that we did have on the NASDAQ there. So let's see how much further of a pullback that Tesla can take. Is it going to come right back into 209s? I have no idea, but the VWAP hover might be the hold there as of right now. 207s, 206 and change is the VWAP that I'm watching on Tesla for a potential pullback as of right now. We're catching a little bit of a bid in and around that 21 moving average. So I like to use the 3-minute in terms of trend, defining trends or looking for potential participants that may be following the trend. I look at the 8 moving average, the 21 moving average, the 50, and sometimes the 200 as well, depending on how extended things might be getting. But VWAP, definitely one of my top ones, and volume is literally my top indicator, whether that be relative volume or even just volume in general, the volume bars in general that I'm looking at the bottom of the chart, right? So I'm always looking for a potential relative change, and look at that, coming right back in towards that 209. So maybe that is not the best place to get short. Like, I'm looking for a little bit more than what Tesla has given. It was giving me over about a point to the downside on top of VWAP there, and now we're bidding right back up into 209. So might be a little bit in trouble in this one, but as I said, if the trend has changed and the selling is a little bit more dominant, I'm going to look for some of these pops to kind of fail, giving me further confirmation that maybe sellers have become in charge on Tesla as of right now. Now, I don't know what's going to happen. I'm just trying to stay patient and stay nimble, roll with the punches, and listen to the chart and the price action here on Tesla. It seems like 209 might be a little bit of an area. What's going on?
Yeah, no, I was just saying, you got to stay nimble. Look, I can't get, like, Nike doesn't want to give any fills at 75. So getting back into that one's going to be tricky for me. DJT is still bouncing off the trend line. so I want to respect it. I probably could have gotten a reload in here, but just missed. It got to 42. I was actually sitting. I don't know. You shouldn't anchor to the price you get into. It doesn't really matter. You know how trend lines work, right? Like obviously the trend line is going to go higher as it trends up. So I should be willing to buy it over 40, and I should have had like a 42 or 43 long like we did in front of 30, but I didn't, so we didn't get a reload there. Still looking for 34 to 34.20 as the target as we're holding on to that. Nike, I want that reload. I think like maybe we can get it off 75. I might just have to get down underneath 74.90. Just being patient with it. So far, so good. NVIDIA just bounced off VWAP for what it's worth. So if you're watching this stock, look at the wick. Now it's holding VWAP. NVIDIA's got higher lows. If this gets back above 123, that could be the thing where it just turns around, goes green on the day, and shocks everybody. I do not want to get trapped. Just because NVIDIA worked a couple of times short doesn't make me ignore the fact that this is now trending to the upside. I got to respect it. And shout out to everybody in the chat. I'm going to shout you guys out for all mentioning how strong Dell is. This is the one.
What's going on there?
To the upside, up 1% into a market which is stunk today. The shorts have been fantastic. I'm not going to complain about it. But Dell, once again, cannot hold underneath the 50 period on the daily since earnings. Look at the job that it's doing holding on to support at the 50 period moving average. When you see that and you get a liquidity grab like this, you got to look for longs. Dell wasn't on my list to look at, but a liquidity grab under 135, consolidation 136. Now it's attempting to break out. We only have like 20 seconds to go, so I'm going to leave you with this notion. Even if it takes out the high, 142 has been big resistance. So watch out for that punch. It's got a couple of dollars to go on Dell. I'd rather be buying dips into this thing back into VWAP. You only have DJT long. That's about 60 pennies in the money. Looking for a little bit more than that. It's been a fun morning. We're right back at it at 2 o'clock. For that close. But thank you, Obi. It's been a great one. Thank you, Real Trading. Thank you to the chat. Great look for everybody on Dell. I promise. I keep seeing questions about Reddit. I'll get to that in the chat. We got to head on over to the professor and Adara. It's Learn to Trade.
See you soon.
What is up, beautiful people? Welcome to How to Trade, formerly known as That Midday Show. That right there in the white vest is your girl Adara, and I'm in the white shirt. And my name is Sharif. And we're going to wait for everyone to come on over from the other stream. We already have a couple of